Get them seeds?
They have already seeds. They have
Yeah.
7 pounds. of them.
Christian came. When he came, he was getting for them too.
I invited them inside, but she wasn't ready. You know, the kids, they want to play and everything. So
No.
no.
No,
I said to
no.
them to
We're
go at the
busy in
back.
here. What are they here for then?
They understood from Elsa that it was from 1 to 3 that they could come here. That's
For what?
they said.
Well, I just said, you need me to come in the afternoon.
Why would they
because
come here though? if they don't?
Nobody's,
Why are they coming here?
They wanted
They,
to
Daniel's, on Wednesday night, so she also is, in contact with my Auntie Joe in Mexico, and they are planning hemp. So, and I think Dania tried to come to get seeds, like Tuesday.
Okay, but if they already got seeds, what are they coming for today?
They said like to say thank you for the seeds, kind of, that they
Yeah.
wanted to give something in appreciation, so I guess.
They gave
brought
3
them.
bottles of this.
What's that? Hemp oil?
Hemp oil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to sit on this chair.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, we're waiting.
All right. Okay, on the gadi wahi gajokwa. So what I'm see us nyari. Gazit Anserio Yujutska, Winoji on Dudget Screen Star, Ronata Roni. Retinu Wadadu Garunga Gadi Agasu. Yeti Sota Asatanka Garakwa Dana Yetin Stars in Hunzagi, Dana Gueguska, Niganunga. Retinu Wadadu, a Guayzini, Ganyat de Gerdo, Dana Aguego or Quadri, Onokosuka. Retinu Wadadu, Sawyer, ne Bundun Hetzer Gawis, Dano. Yet sort of gunhan there on other headstone, they're gonna go here that how it go. Yoki out again had Damdawi out on Hetzer goes at Stasser and Ganungwe. Damdawi out on Hetzer and Asat Nigat Dardige Ganyaga Haga, Radinato, Donata Bruni, Dano Riska Devogi. Dano Damdawi out on Hetzer and Aguego on the board of Guyana Rasa go Nescana. Dano Ori Rio, Gariwa Bori Shunsera, Dano Gazat Stasera. Damdawe aron Hetzer ne Ganigu Rio ne Gayandawana. Okay, so as you know, whenever we get together for anything of importance, meeting, council, ceremony, that we always have to begin with Honda Gadi Wadekwa first. This is where we give thanks for the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. So we always begin by giving our thanks to the great spiral of creation. That when you look up into the nighttime sky, you're not looking into cold, dark, empty, lifeless space the way that non-native science would lead you to believe. No, instead you are looking into the living, vibrant body of our great mother. And so we give thanks to her, to the great spiral of creation, to Sky Woman herself, as it is she who has given us spirit. From there, we give our thanks to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, to our grandmother Moon. It is she who regulates the flow of the lifeblood in all things. And so we give thanks to her, to Grandma Moon, as it's she who has given us blood. From there, we give our thanks to our Mother Earth, regardless of what color you are, what language you speak, where you have grown out from our Mother Earth, or what you imagine divides us. We all come from the same mother. It's making us all one family, sisters, brothers, all relations together. And so we give thanks to her, to our Mother Earth, as it's she who has given us body. From there, we give our thanks to all the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as they carry the sacred title of life giver into the world and are to be honored and respected as such. We give thanks to them, for in this world, they give us purpose and direction. From there, we give our thanks to all the waters and all the medicines in all their shapes and forms they come in.
Buenas tardes, como de costumbre hacemos la apertura, la Honda Carihuatecua, y agradecemos a la espiral de la creación, que es la mujer mujer cielo. Cuando volteamos en la noche a ver el cielo lleno de estrellas, no se trata de un cuerpo vacío y sin vida como nos lo han hecho creer, sino del cuerpo de la mujer cielo, y le agradecemos por el espíritu de todo lo que ella anima. Le damos las gracias también a nuestra abuelita Luna, que es el corazón latiente de nuestra madre tierra, quien nos da nuestras aguas, nos las regula y quien nos da nuestra sangre. Y también a nuestra mami tierra, que es quien nos da nuestro cuerpo, y sin importar qué divisiones queramos creer que tenemos entre humanos, es ella quien nos ha dado nuestros cuerpos, que nos hace ser una familia no solamente humana, sino viviente. Y le damos las gracias por esa experiencia que nos permite tener. Y también a todas las dadoras de vida en todas las especies, porque son ellas quienes nos dan nuestra dirección y nuestros objetivos. Y también a todas las aguas y todas las medicinas en todas las formas que se presentan hacia nosotros.
From there, we give our thanks to our ancestors that carried the good mind, and we ask them to help us to return our mothers back to their natural seat of authority within all our nations so they can manage all our people properly once again.
Y de ahí damos las gracias al buen espíritu de nuestros ancestros y les pedimos que nos ayuden a hacer que la gran ley de la paz vuelva a los corazones y los espíritus de la gente.
We ask them to help us to return the true knowledge of the great law of peace into every Onagora, every wampum, back to the hearts and minds of the people.
Y que cada artículo de la ley pueda volver en aplicación.
And this is to identify that when we say the great law of peace, the majority of people who will hear this will have no clue, no idea of which we are speaking.
Y cuando decimos la gran ley de la paz, la mayoría de la gente no va a saber de lo que estamos hablando.
The non-native world has no knowledge of peace, so to hear of great law of peace is going to be as foreign to them as being on the surface of Mars.
Porque el mundo no autóctono no tiene conocimiento acerca de la paz, entonces hablar de la paz les va a ser algo completamente extranjero.
So when we say to return the knowledge, this is to identify that when we're speaking of peace, you know, it's missing. It's not there in the world. So when something is missing, you have no clue as to what it is. You have no clue as to how big it may be. So in a world of where we only know war, we know that peace is missing, but you have no clue as to how all-encompassing and how far-reaching peace could actually be, to actually engulf the world, to consume the hearts and minds of the people into happiness.
Y se sabe que la gente necesita hablar de la paz para poder volver a hacer que esta creencia y aplicación en la paz vuelva, porque como no se ha hablado de la paz y no se ha tenido paz durante tanto tiempo, es como si la gente no es capaz de ver que eso pueda existir en realidad.
So when we say to return to the hearts and minds of the people, it's to return that which has been missing, that which has been stolen from you, which has been killed out of you.
Y cuando decimos que la gran ley de la paz vuelva, es para aquello que fue extraído, matado, robado, asesinado de la gente, pueda volver, porque ya existía y ahora no existe, pero eso no significa que no pueda regresar.
And so when you hear these words, to return the knowledge of the great law of peace to us, don't let it be limited by the parameters that you have created in your own mind as to the limited knowledge that you know of what peace is.
Y cuando se dice ayudarnos a que la gran ley de la paz vuelva, no hay que detenernos nada más al poco límite que podemos tener nosotros de comprensión de lo que eso significaría.
When anybody thinks of peace, of course, we're gonna think about it in relation to things in the world that we can associate that with, examples. So we're not going to, let's say, for instance, on a scale of 1 to 10, if we only know 1 in as far as peace is concerned, how could we conceive of 10? How could we understand or comprehend all that exists from 2 to 10 if we're only in 1?
Y para ponerlo en perspectiva, si del 1 al 10 nada más podemos comprender el 1, ¿cómo podríamos imaginar que algún día vamos a llegar a comprender el 10?
So when we say to return this to the hearts and minds of the people, you are the one that must have the open mind.
Y cuando decimos que esto vuelva a los corazones y a las mentes de la gente, entonces son ustedes los que tienen que tener esta mente abierta.
But don't forget, it's our minds. It's the minds of the people that have been oppressed, that have been locked into a constant state of war for, in the non-native world, at least 500 years. But you know, you're in a constant state of war for about 2,500 to 3,000 years.
Pero que no se les olvide que las mentes del mundo no autóctono han sido condenadas a reducirse a pensar en términos de guerra, y al menos por los últimos 500 años es un hecho, pero antes de eso también esas mentes habían sido condicionadas desde mucho antes.
So let's acknowledge and establish a fact, a common fact between us,
Y hay que reconocer y establecer un hecho común entre nosotros,
of that people who don't know anything about peace, who've only known war,
y es que la gente que nunca ha conocido la paz, que solamente ha vivido en la guerra,
those people, it's impossible for them to know anything about peace, to understand anything. They cannot speak about it.
es imposible que esta gente comprenda algo acerca de la ley y por lo tanto que hable de ella o la aplique.
It's easier. So, if or when we talk about peace in the world, let's understand something, that the non-native European, the people who are of European descent, they are not qualified to speak of peace.
Y entonces cuando hablamos de la paz hay que entender que el no autóctono, el que viene del otro lado de las aguas del gran océano, el europeo, no puede hablar de la paz.
So think about this. Whenever there's flare-ups in the world, such as like what everybody knows is happening in Ukraine, but what has been happening now for what, over 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, I think, in what Israel has been inflicting upon Palestine.
Y cuando hay conflictos en el mundo, como podemos pensar hoy lo que está ocurriendo en Ucrania, pero si vemos desde hace 50, sino 70 años, lo que Israel inflige al pueblo palestino.
Let's think about what happens in the schoolyard.
Pensemos en lo que pasa en el patio de escuela.
Okay, in the schoolyard, if a fight breaks out between two students, what is the administration going to do? What would everybody expect the school administration to do?
Y si algo ocurriese en una escuela, ¿qué se esperaría de la parte de la administración de la escuela? Que hagan que
Anybody want? There's only a few of us here right now. Anybody want to try answering that?
alguien que quisiera responder a eso.
I'll do it. Well, in daycare, which I don't think is much different than high school or anything, basically they just go and they give, they go straight to the person who's been accused and treat them as if they've already done that without actually bringing a circle and talking and finding out exactly what happened and move it backwards and backwards. So in the daycare world, that happened all the time. And I call it mindfulness. Eventually, the kids knew no shame, no blame. We're just going to find out what happened. And then one day, what I actually observed was the kindergarten girls would actually stop what they're doing and come and observe me. It was amazing, you know. And then in the long run, just to add to this, I started working with the boys like, are you a spirit warrior or a fighting warrior? And eventually, all these negative behaviors always disappear when you bring in the spiritual teachings and mindfulness and no shame and no blame.
Kelly dice que entonces desde cuando estamos en la guardería hasta la universidad, cómo se trata en la administración es que va a haber un acusado y no se va a ver ninguna investigación, sino que el acusado va a recibir el castigo y se le va a tratar con la pena que necesita o que se merece su puesto. Pero entonces cuando se traen las enseñanzas tradicionales espirituales acerca de cómo arreglar conflictos, las niñas van a ser mucho más respetuosas, los niños van a poder ir desapareciendo sus comportamientos negativos progresivamente. Entonces es impresionante la diferencia de cómo ambos mundos hacen frente a los conflictos y a la culpa.
So I think we can all agree. I mean, just with this one example, I mean, it's not unique in the world. I think we can all agree that every school on earth is basically run the same way, and everyone expects or would expect any school administration that to stop any fights between students that break out.
Y podríamos estar de acuerdo que cualquier persona se esperaría a que cualquier administración de una escuela sean ellos los que detengan una pelea si una pelea irrumpiera en la escuela.
So what would that look like? What would, if we're on the ground, do you remember? I remember what it was like when I was in school.
¿Y a qué se parece esto? Yo me acuerdo a qué se parecía cuando yo era niño.
A fight breaks out or a scuffle between two people, right away, teacher go there and ask, hold the two people there and ask, what's going on? Try to establish peace.
Hay una pelea y inmediatamente el profesor, la maestra vendría y diría qué es lo que está pasando y trataría de que la cosa se resuelva.
Now, who would expect that if a fight broke out between students, who would expect any of the school administration to go there to pick a side and to start cheering? Yeah, hit him, punch him, kick him when he's down. Would anybody expect that kind of behavior from a school administration?
¿Quién se esperaría de la parte de una administración escolar que le tomen parte a alguna de las dos personas que se están peleando y que incluso les echen porras, que digan, sí, dale más cuando está abajo?
The answer to that is, of course not.
Pues por supuesto que no, nadie se esperaría eso.
We would have to be crazy to think like or expect things to work or dysfunction that way.
Tendríamos que estar locos para pensar que las cosas podrían funcionar o más bien no funcionar así.
But yet, in the world, this is precisely what happens. When you get out of school, the so-called governments or countries on earth do the exact opposite of what we would expect.
Y a pesar de eso, es exactamente como ocurre hoy. Es decir, en cuanto los chicos salen de la escuela, los maestros están ahí para fomentar ese tipo de comportamiento.
So let's see. If a fight broke out in the schoolyard and there was groups, people grouping, polarizing behind the two sides.
Y si una pelea irrumpiese en la escuela y hay gente que se está polarizando de ambos lados.
And maybe even handing out weapons. Maybe you come on one side and you give a weapon to the kid, maybe a stick, and the other one gives a knife, and then the next person's giving a gun.
E inclusive tal vez después dándoles un arma, tal vez alguien un cuchillo, alguien por allá una pistola.
If that was to happen, let's imagine that scenario happened in the schoolyard when a fight broke out. Who would you expect? Who would be doing that? Would it be the school administration? Who would we identify would be polarizing themselves behind either side of the dispute and assisting them with giving them weapons?
Y si ese fuera el caso, ¿quién sería el responsable de empezar a polarizarse detrás de las dos partes involucradas y comenzar a darles armas? ¿La administración de la escuela o quién haría eso?
You wouldn't expect that from the teachers, right?
No se esperarían a que los maestros hagan eso, ¿cierto?
Not from the administration.
Tampoco de la parte de la administración escolar.
School administration, it would be their job to, like what Kelly said, to promote peace.
Porque como Kelly lo dijo, su responsabilidad sería la de promover la paz.
So let's see, who would it be? It would only be in the schoolyard, other kids who are influenced by the schoolyard bully.
Entonces, ¿quién sería? Serían solamente otros niños que son influenciados por el bully de la escuela, del patio.
Now, in the schoolyard, everybody is influenced by the schoolyard bully.
Y en el patio todo el mundo es influenciado por el bully de la escuela.
So you would have kids on the side of the bully who are influenced by him, by quite simply wanting to, they turn into basically like sharks in a feeding frenzy. They will latch on and support whatever the bully is saying or doing.
Y el comportamiento es generar algo como cuando los tiburones van a ser alimentados y todos van a quererse comer esa comida que acaban comiéndose a ellos mismos. Es ese comportamiento del bully se esparciría por todos lados.
So let's look at what's been happening in the Ukraine.
Y lo que ha estado ocurriendo en Ucrania,
Is there a schoolyard bully?
si hacemos el paralelo, ¿hay algún bully de la escuela?
Or did a scuffle break out between two people that was unavoidable?
¿O ocurrió una batalla entre dos partes que era inevitable?
Equal amounts of pressure from both sides, say.
Y que tienen una parte igual de presión de ambos lados.
Now, everybody wants to see Russia as the schoolyard bully.
Y todo el mundo quiere ver que Rusia es como el bully del patio de la escuela.
But then there are others who are seeing that there is justification into what Russia is doing.
Pero hay otros que ven que hay justificación en lo que Rusia está haciendo.
So because of this, we see the whole world polarized on both sides.
Y debido a esto vemos que el mundo entero está polarizado en dos lados.
And so just like in that schoolyard, if the students are the ones running the show, then you will see people polarizing on both sides of the scuffle.
Y así como pasa en la escuela, es el bully el que va a dividir a los estudiantes en dos lados. Bueno, lo mismo está ocurriendo en este caso.
So this is the circumstances that exist in the world right now. It's the equivalent of a scuffle breaking out in the schoolyard, and there's no administration to come to bring peace, to speak of peace.
Y eso es lo que está pasando hoy en el mundo, que hay una pelea que ocurre entre dos partes y no hay ninguna administración capaz de venir a hablar o establecer la paz.
Think of this, regardless if the world has a so-called United Nations. What has the United Nations ever done for peace, to establish peace, to maintain peace, to bring bodies together who are in the dispute, to have an interface of which they can resolve issues? The UN ever done this? No, never.
¿Qué importa que haya unas Naciones Unidas si nunca ese organismo ha establecido ninguna paz en ningún lado?
So right now, the circumstances, if the so-called United Nations is the only body there that promotes itself as some kind of authority.
Y las circunstancias ahora es que es la ONU el único organismo que dice tener algún tipo de autoridad en el asunto.
But as we see that through this whole scuffle, this whole dispute between Russia and the Ukraine, sorry,
Pero como vemos en esta pelea entre Rusia y Ucrania,
that no one in the so-called United Nations, European Union, NATO, any of the world religions, nobody has come forward to initiate or to manage a dialogue to establish peace or even an interface and just to understand the situation between all parties.
nadie de las Naciones Unidas o inclusive de alguna religión internacional ha venido para tratar de mediar entre ambas partes o tratar de hablar de posibilidades de establecer la paz.
Now, again, the reason why this is not happening is because the non-native European, again, has no clue about peace. So they have no clue about what to do when a scuffle breaks out and how to engage it, how to address it through peace in a peaceful fashion, to resolve it peacefully.
Y por qué es así es porque cuando ocurre una pelea el mundo no autóctono no tiene la base del conocimiento para saber cómo traerlo hacia una resolución y hacia la paz.
This is the circumstance in the world right now. The world is subjected to this circumstance of schoolyard bullies.
Y esta es la circunstancia en el mundo que te está haciendo todo el mundo frente a los bullies del patio trasero.
And if you're polarized, well, not if, the whole world is polarized on one side or the other. You're either polarized on Russia's side or else on NATO's side, not on the Ukraine side, NATO's side.
Y todo el mundo está polarizado ya sea del lado ruso o del lado de la OTAN, porque no es ningún lado ucraniano, es la OTAN.
And so this means that no one can look at the issue to address it, to even just like we said, just to get to the point of understanding, much less to begin any kind of resolution.
Y esto significa que nadie puede abordar el asunto de una forma, al menos tratar de entenderlo y pues mucho menos tratar de resolverlo.
People who have been at war for thousands of years, which is the white European, there's no way in hell that they have any clue of how to achieve peace, how to maintain peace, or how to address disputes from a standpoint of peace.
La gente que ha estado en la guerra después de miles de años no puede entender un conflicto, tratar de establecer la paz o inclusive pensar en que se puede arreglar un conflicto.
So this is something that we must establish. You must establish in your head, because it's you that is living in a world full of war, full of disputes. You are stuck in the same scenario that your parents were, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, all of them wanting to get out of war, all of them not knowing how to get out of war, but all of them continuously stuck in a constant state of war.
Y esto es algo que todo el mundo tiene que establecer en su mente, porque hoy ustedes se encuentran en la misma situación que sus padres, sus abuelos, sus tatarabuelos, que querían salirse de la guerra, pero no lo lograron.
So when we consider, or when we look at things such as like what's happening with Russia and the Ukraine,
Y cuando pensamos en las cosas que han ocurrido entre Rusia y Ucrania,
there is only one people on earth that is qualified to sit at that place of interface, that can create interface.
solamente hay un pueblo en la tierra que puede sentarse en ese lugar de interfase.
And that is the original people of Turtle Island under Guyana Rasa de Stanagoa.
Y se trata de los pueblos originarios de la isla de la Tortuga bajo la Gran Ley de la Paz.
And the only way to access that, if you're a non-native person, the only way to access the native people of Turtle Island within the parameter of Great Law of Peace is through Degene Diohade, to Ro Wampum.
Y si ustedes son no autóctonos, la única forma de poder acceder a eso es mediante el Degeni de Yohade, el Tratado de Paz del Wampum de Dos Rías.
It's the only thing that is a bridge to peace, a pathway to peace for the non-native people. If you don't take the two Ro Wampum now, your certain pathway to death that you have been on, your path of war, is going to conclude very soon.
Y es la única opción. Si ustedes no pueden verlo y no pueden aplicarlo, van a ver que el mundo se les va a complicar.
So, as a matter of fact, that the non-native is never going to correct themselves, that they relish being in a state of war. They love blowing the arms and legs off of other people. They love burying their loved ones who got killed in the name of war, in the name of their God, so they can rally more of their troops behind them.
En el mundo no autóctono no se van a detener porque no pueden corregirse a sí mismos, no pueden parar ese comportamiento adictivo de hacer que gente explote por bombas o matar a gente. Es algo que no van a dejar de hacer.
So this is the crazy European that has gone around the world with their colonial mindset of waging war everywhere that they go.
Y ese es el pensamiento colonial de haber ido a todas las partes del mundo a infligir la guerra a donde fuese.
Can anyone on earth get away from that corrupted behavior?
¿Y alguien puede alejarse de ese tipo de comportamiento corrupto?
The answer to that is no, it's impossible. We'd have to go to the Arctic or the Antarctic and dig a hole a mile under the earth and secure ourselves there to get away from the crazy European warmonger.
La respuesta es no, se tendría que ir a hacer un hoyo en el Ártico para poder excavarlo a 1 kilómetro de profundidad para poder escaparse de esa mentalidad.
So then what's the solution? What do good people do?
Y entonces, ¿cuál es la solución? ¿Qué es lo que puede hacer la gente buena?
Well, good people gotta, by being subjected to it, you have to minimize the damage to yourself, minimize your own personal exposure to that insanity.
Bueno, la gente buena tiene que minimizar su propia exposición a ese tipo de locura.
So the individual has to take a position of separating from different corruptions.
Entonces el individuo tiene que tomar una posición de separarse de ciertas corrupciones.
And an example of this is what was started in a correction process of the two-row wampum.
Y un ejemplo de eso es lo que comenzó en un proceso de corrección del wampum de 2 vías.
We had come to terms that the two-row wampum was established with white European men, which is white European warmongers. You can't establish peace or an agreement of peace with the white European.
Que concluimos que habíamos hecho un error en haberle dado el tratado de paz de wampum de 2 vías a un hombre europeo, porque él es tan corrupto que jamás podría haber respetado el tratado.
And so after hundreds of years of being exposed to the white European corruption, of coming to terms with their reality as to what they really are, we come to terms with it. We have identified that the two-row wampum was lodged in the wrong place. White European men have no place with peace.
Y después de cientos de años de habérselos dado, tuvimos que concluir que el hombre europeo no podía vivir en paz porque nunca pudo respetar el tratado.
Not the collective of them.
No la colectividad de ellos.
Now, this is the thing about the white European. On their own, they're good people. Everybody's good people.
Y eso es lo que hay que distinguir del blanco europeo, que ellos como individuos todos son buenas personas.
But it's their process of collectivity, which is the corruption of democracy, that allows them or gives them the, or which places them in a state of corruption to spread that corruption around the world.
Pero es su proceso colectivo, que es el de la democracia, que permite que su corrupción se expanda por todos lados en el mundo.
So the individual must themselves separate as much as they can from every corruption, and as they do, slowly but surely, you will see that an individual can establish peace within themselves, can separate from the corruption that everyone else has adopted or inflicted themselves with.
Y de esta forma, un individuo puede separarse de la corrupción dentro de la cual el resto se encuentra o que permiten seguir infligiéndosela.
So in doing this and making the correction to the two-row wampum, we had seen that, well, the true representation of the non-native European is with the women, not with the men.
Y habiendo comprendido esto, se entendió que la verdadera representatividad del europeo no era con los hombres, sino con las mujeres.
So what has been happening over the last couple of 100 years is slowly but surely, well, the male dominance of the white European may seem like it's in power, but what actually is happening is it is canceling itself out. It's making itself irrelevant in the world.
Y entonces hoy podríamos tener la percepción de que la dominación masculina ha avanzado en el mundo, pero en realidad lo que está ocurriendo es que se está haciendo irrelevante.
And so with the correction to the two-row wampum, removing it out of the hands of the white European male warmonger,
Y el hecho de haber quitado al wampum de 2 vías dentro de las manos corruptas del hombre europeo que hace la guerra
and putting it into the hands of the women through the woman's nation,
y habiéndolo puesto en las manos de las mujeres con la nación de dadoras de vida,
that the women gathered have been able to identify and begin to separate from corruptions.
las mujeres que se han juntado, que se han unido, han sido capaces de identificar las corrupciones y deshacerse de ellas.
And so in this world full of male dominant warmongering, the women, of course, are the ultimate target.
Y en este mundo lleno de dominación masculina, por supuesto que son las mujeres el objetivo que va a ser siempre el principal.
So if the women want peace of mind ever at any point, then they must group themselves together solely within a matrilineal agenda and separate from all the corruptions of male dominance.
Y si las mujeres quieren paz, entonces tienen que unirse dentro de una agenda matrilineal y separarse de todo lo que les impide ejercer eso.
This has been done over the last few years with the Women's Nation. They've been making giant leaps and advancements in back to peace out of the pathway of war they've been on.
Y esto ha ocurrido en los últimos años con la Nación de Dadoras de Vida, que han dado pasos grandes hacia la paz, deshaciéndose de la corrupción de dominación masculina en la que han vivido durante años.
To the point of where this weekend the Women's Nation had their monthly meeting, took it on the road into a new place, into their sister Anne Marquis' home, and where they established together a woman's safe house, where women from within the Women's Nation can seek out the shelter, seek out the safety, to be away and separate completely from the corruptions of male dominance.
Hasta el punto en el que pudieron unirse en su consejo lunar, en esta ocasión en la casa de su hermana Anne Marquis, para poder establecer esa casa como un lugar seguro para la nación de dadoras de vida.
Now, this is the first foothold that the women are making to know that this is not, say, just a local thing, but it is a conglomerated effort of truly an international effort of women from around the world.
Y este es el primer paso para concretizar y afirmar que la misión de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida no se trata nada más a nivel local, sino a nivel regional, internacional.
So this past weekend, one of the biggest things on earth in as far as establishing peace, establishing safety of women, establishing the foundation of our humanity and to protect their sacred life giver power, this has been the biggest, it's the biggest news on the planet for peace. But in the world of war, you're not going to hear the biggest news about peace.
Y entonces el hecho de establecer esta casa como lugar seguro es algo que son noticias históricas, es decir, no es la historia de dominación masculina, sino la de ella, la que vuelve. Pero en este mundo no se van a escuchar ese tipo de noticias en el radio o en la tele.
So there's something to celebrate for all of us today, even if you don't know about it, even if you're not connected to it, even if you don't know us, even if this, maybe you're just hearing this and it's going in one ear and out the other.
Y entonces hoy hay un motivo para celebrar, inclusive si nos conocen o no, o si saben de lo que estamos hablando o no.
To know that in the world, that there is a safe place for women, again, not just locally to say like, oh, it's the Montreal area women's shelter. No, that this is an international collaboration of women from around the world coming together within a matrilineal agenda to reestablish great law of peace in the world and to establish a safe foundation for the women in which to start and embark upon this path.
Y es entonces algo maravilloso que celebrar el hecho de que haya mujeres que están unificadas a un nivel internacional y que es para ponerse en la agenda matrilineal y poder estar unificadas en esa misión.
So there has been a very big and very important development happening from within the women's nation to expand peace in the world.
Y este es un desarrollo mayor de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida para poder expandir la paz en el mundo.
And this has been for any women who are aware or who have been participating in the establishment of the women's nation. You know that you or the women are doing groundbreaking work to break out of the multi-generational male dominance that has been oppressive.
Porque si saben, el trabajo de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida es hacer un trabajo a la base de poder retirar la dominación masculina que ha sido infligida en las generaciones por ahora ya cientos de años.
And we're proud to say that this house, the Wolf Clan House, has helped to facilitate this into the world.
Y estamos orgullosos de poder decir que esta casa del clan del lobo ha sido capaz de facilitar eso en el mundo.
That truly the work of any who would identify as Longhouse people is to spread the word, to spread the knowledge of the great law of peace.
Y que el trabajo que alguien de la Casa Larga tiene que hacer es justamente el de empujar, motivar que haya más gran ley de la paz entendida y aplicada.
So going on how many people that you know profess to be Longhouse people in the world, you should see huge efforts like this happening in the non-native world in order for the native world to push back that oppression. We must undo what they have done, which means as they have put the poison into us, we must push that poison back.
Y tenemos que hacer justo lo opuesto que ellos hicieron, así como ellos empujaron el veneno encima de nosotros, nosotros tenemos que sacar ese veneno fuera de nosotros.
Okay, so this is the big news that just happened over the weekend here within this territory.
Y esas son las gran noticias que ocurrieron este fin de semana en este territorio.
Now, here where we are in Ganawage, when we say this territory, it's of course the territory that spans of the 5 nations Longhouse Confederacy territories.
Y aquí cuando decimos que estamos en Canahuague es en donde es una parte del territorio de la Confederación de las 5 Naciones.
And so this is where Anne's property is. It's in southern Ontario.
Y en donde la propiedad de Anne se encuentra es en la parte sur de lo que se conoce como Ontario.
It's approximately 2.5 hours away from us.
A unas 2 horas y media de nosotros.
And so this is the first established this weekend. The first, you can say, like satellite outpost for the Women's Nation, where women can find a safe harbor.
Y es la primera casa afuera de ese territorio que es establecida como, digamos, un lugar en el que las mujeres pueden estar seguras en la Nación de Dadoras de Vida.
Now, those of you who are aware know that the Women's Nation is a fledgling pathway to peace that the non-native women whose bloodlines come from across the Great Waters have only just recently begun to fix, to heal things.
Y quienes saben, la Nación de Dadoras de Vida es un esfuerzo reciente de las mujeres cuya línea de sangre viene del otro lado del océano para poder corregir las cosas.
As you know, that the Women's Nation had adopted the Great Law of Peace and requested a law recital so that they can initiate their effort. And this was done in 2017, 2019.
Y las mujeres pidieron un recital de la ley para poder establecer la Nación de Dadoras de Vida y esto ocurrió en 2019.
And it was through this that led to the pathway of establishing this first satellite safe house for the Women's Nation.
Y esos fueron los primeros pasos que llevaron al establecimiento de esta casa segura de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida.
This year, they are going to be establishing other satellite safe houses, like little, you can say like little embassies across the territory.
Y este año va a haber otras casas así que van a ser establecidas que podrían ser como lugares satélites o embajadas.
The next one is going to be established near the Quebec City area.
La próxima va a ser establecida en cerca de la región de la ciudad de Quebec.
So if you looked on a map and you've seen where we are here in Ganawagi, and you've seen where Anne's place is, her safe house is in Ontario, and if you've seen where the safe house is going to be near just south of Quebec City, you would see a circle expanding.
Y si ustedes ven en un mapa en donde nos encontramos, en donde se encuentra Anne, en donde se encuentra la ciudad de Quebec, van a poder ver que hay un círculo que se está expandiendo,
A circle of peace,
que es de paz
a circle of truth rooted in Guyana Rasidas Kanagawa.
y de verdad que está basado en la gran ley de la paz.
And so this is what Longhouse people are supposed to do.
Y esto es lo que la gente de la Casa Larga debe de hacer.
This is what all original peoples should be doing. We should be pushing back against the colonization process, meaning we should be taking the non-native people who were sent here as weapons, who are weaponized against us, and we should be correcting them and sending them back, not meaning sending them back across the great waters, but sending them back with peace, to reestablish peace everywhere that they have traveled.
Y ese sería nuestro objetivo, el de poder tener una interacción con el pueblo que viene del otro lado del océano para reenviarlos, no de vuelta al otro lado del océano, sino dentro de sus comunidades, de sus familias, de sus gentes, a que sean ellos los que propaguen la paz.
So this is how we actually push back against male dominant warmongering colonization.
Y de hecho es así como empujamos toda la colonización y todo ese pensamiento de guerra del europeo blanco.
To pick up a gun and to say you're going to fight against it means you are killing yourself and you are killing the effort of peace.
Porque si ustedes van a agarrar una pistola y van a decir que es así como van a defender la paz, pues van a matarse a ustedes mismos y en el proceso matar la causa de la paz.
There is only one way to fight this genocidal monster that has come here from across the great waters.
Solamente hay una forma de luchar contra este monstruo genocida que vino del otro lado de las aguas.
And that's within our identity. And our identity is peace.
Y es dentro de nuestra identidad, la cual es la paz.
Their identity is war.
Su identidad es la guerra.
So when any of our people pick up the gun to fight against what they have brought here, you are not any longer on our side. You are actually on their side, the white European warmonger.
Y cuando alguien de aquí va a agarrar las armas, pues ya no son de aquí, sino que se han vuelto de su pensamiento y entonces están del otro lado de la línea.
And so today we share this great information. This is the greatest news.
Y hoy compartimos esta gran información, que son las grandes noticias.
But is it the only effort?
Pero ese es el único esfuerzo,
No, it's not.
¿no?
There are similar efforts, but are kind of in different areas. So it's hard to tell, or it's hard for people to draw the connections.
Hay diferentes esfuerzos, pero es como difícil que la gente pueda hacer la vinculación entre ellos.
Our good friend Valentina, as you know, has been working with midwives throughout the South, from Mexico into Central and South America.
Nuestra buena amiga Valentina ha estado trabajando con las parteras a lo largo de todo el hemisferio sur, que se conoce como América Latina.
And this is to return the birthing process back into the control of mothers.
Y esto es para que el proceso de nacimiento pueda volver a las manos de las madres.
To take people out of being controlled, being born into the world systemically.
Hacer que la gente deje de ser controlada en el sentido de nacer dentro del mundo de una forma sistematizada.
And efforts such as this is effort at peace on the same levels as what has been done here, except it's a little different, like fingers on our hands are different, but they're all doing the same thing.
Y los esfuerzos que ella hace son similares a los que hacemos aquí, a pesar de que no son exactamente los mismos, pero es como dos manos que se complementan.
Okay, so we're proud to announce, proud to say that we are a part of what just took place with the Women's Nation this weekend in establishing a safe house within Anne Marquis' home, her property for women within the Life Givers Nation.
Y estamos entonces contentos de anunciar que este fin de semana se estableció esta casa segura en el terreno de Anne Marquis y que esto es parte de esta misión de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida.
Now, what this will mean for women, for the Life Givers,
Y lo que esto va a significar para las mujeres, las dadoras de vida,
is that, well, let's see, you'll have a safe house in Southern Ontario. You got our place here, and then you'll have a safe house in near so-called Quebec City. Well, for somebody who's traveling across the land, you got safe harbors in a lot of places in which you can stop and take refuge.
y es que si ustedes vienen viajando a nuestro territorio, bueno, está una casa segura al sur de Ontario, estamos nosotros aquí, está otro lugar en la ciudad de Quebec, entonces tienen lugares en los cuales pueden estar en seguridad.
And of course, with the Women's Nation vetting any women who would enter into it, then this does the pre what?
Filtering.
Filtering, yeah, sorting out of anybody who might come to your house to seek shelter.
Y como la Nación de Dadoras de Vida tiene un proceso para darle la bienvenida a las mujeres que van a ser parte de la nación, ese es el primer filtro para determinar quién puede venir a ser parte de esta casa segura.
This way, it is like-minded people, like-minded life givers who are working in a positive way to heal our Mother Earth.
De esta forma son dadoras de vida que piensan similar y que están haciendo todo lo que pueden para salvar, proteger, ayudar a nuestra Madre Tierra.
Yeah, so this is something that we wanted to announce. We know there's nobody present with us there from the South right now.
No.
So we wanted to announce this as the good news, because good news is never reported in the news.
Y queríamos dar esto como las buenas noticias, porque las buenas noticias nunca son presentadas en la radio o en la tele.
So it means a whole lot.
Y
You know, it
significa
means
mucho,
it means more than what it looks like on the surface.
significa mucho más de lo que se ve en la superficie.
What does a seed mean when you plant it in the ground?
Ay, excuse. Una semilla, ¿qué hace cuando se pone en el suelo?
Well, you don't know
No se sabe
until it grows into the possibilities.
hasta que crece en las posibilidades.
And so this is what we have been identifying over the last couple of days in the different meetings that we've been at, is that when there is something missing, you have no way of knowing what it is.
Y eso es lo que hemos identificado en las últimas juntas, que cuando algo hace falta, no se puede saber qué es.
So we just remind the world, the non-native world, that what is missing within you, within your world, is peace, love, happiness. This is what is missing from you, and the pathway to it is through Guyana Rasaraskanagawa, great law of peace.
Y le decimos entonces al mundo no autóctono que lo que les hace falta es la paz, es el amor, es el buen espíritu. Entonces, esto puede ser alcanzado mediante la gran ley de la paz.
Okay, that being said now, we don't really have anything on the agenda here today,
Yeah, we have-
except other than we're supposed to call Roger Chuck Mendoza.
Y entonces, hoy, habiendo dicho esto, no tenemos nada más en la agenda aparte de llamarle a Roger Choque Mendoza.
So, what time were we supposed to call him?
We didn't say, but right now it might be a good time because later he goes and takes lists.
Okay. Anyways, what we're gonna do today is, since we really don't have anything lined up and it doesn't look like anybody's going to join us from the south, we're going to have a short day today.
Y como nada más vamos a hablar a Roger y no hay nadie más del sur, puede que tengamos un día cortito el día de hoy.
But we're going to take advantage of the fact that there's nobody here and there's just a few of us. Take advantage of this time, but very short, very short. Anybody who wants to address what was just shared about the Women's Nation creating this safe house for women. Maybe what you feel about it or whatever, or yeah, anything you want to share, but let's try to make it really short.
Y como ahorita somos poquitos, vamos a podernos tomar el tiempo para, si alguien tiene algo que decir con respecto a lo que acaba de ser dicho del establecimiento de esta casa segura en las Naciones Dadoras de Vida, entonces sería el momento de hablar y que lo hagan cortito. Okay, so we have Elsa and we have Mary that raised their hand. Está Elsa y Mary que levantaron su mano. Go ahead, Elsa.
Hello, I'm Elsa, daughter of Lisa, granddaughter of Leah, great-granddaughter of Adelina. I'm from Wabanaki Nation and in Life Givers Nation. I'm a temporary Bear Clan member.
Elsa se presenta de forma matrilineal y también menciona que es miembro temporal del clan del oso en la Nación de Dadoras de Vida.
I just wanted to come back on this great stack meeting we had Friday. So Merrick, who else? Merrick, Aloysius, and I think a third person is here. So you know, when I was talking about the way the narcissistic society works, and my analysis of it. Afterwards, I raised my hand a second time because I just noticed afterwards I was doing what Stuart said at the beginning of today. So don't analyze, don't understand reality the way you were programmed. And this what I was saying Friday, I realized that's precisely why I left the court and the psychology.
Entonces, Elsa dice que está haciendo un seguimiento con la junta de STAC, que quería decir algo acerca del narcisismo, eso habló de ello, y también quería decir que es justo por eso que dejó su curso que estaba tomando de doctorado en psicología.
It's because you know, my analysis or whatever the psychology is based, it's based on European the male dominant mentality. So they will, because at the STAG meeting I was saying, you know, narcissistic individuals, their mind is alone, and their interaction with the world, with reality, is also one stuck in the male side of the brain. And I was saying we have to come back to two, but that's what that's the problem with psychology now, is that we cannot go back to two. We need to go back to collective. and collective would be 3. So would be turtle, wolf, and bear in the council. So right now, what they do is people are stuck with themselves with whatever issue they face. They go and see a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, and they will do a meeting of 2 behind closed doors. So supposedly it's to protect the person, but I think the real protection would be to have a third party. So this would be not a dialogue, but a discussion between. So that's what I wanted to say, is that I think we should focus on the number 3 instead of 2.
Y porque dejó la carrera de psicología es porque pensaba que todo era demasiado narcisista y, por ejemplo, cómo quieren arreglar las cosas es entre 2 personas, el terapeuta y el paciente, lo cual es una corrupción, porque lo que se necesita es volver a la colectividad, es en la colectividad que las cosas se pueden arreglar. Entonces el narcisista está solo, es uno, y se tendría que volver a 2, pero no es nada más a 2, sino a 3. Se tiene que volver al proceso de consejo, básicamente, de la tortuga, el lobo y el oso para poder hacer las decisiones correctas.
You can see the truth in this, what you're saying in the access to freedom, the level of freedom women have access to in the different ways of life. The way of life here in Turtle Island and the way of life of everyone else.
Y se puede ver la diferencia en la forma en la que las mujeres viven, por ejemplo, el nivel de libertad que van a tener aquí en la isla de la Tortuga y en el resto del mundo.
The way of Turtle Island is for the people to live together in the longhouse. This means 3 or more. You know, you're going to have all the people in the longhouse, which means you're not going to have a little a man being the king of his castle, where he can separate the woman from her mother and have her alone, where he can be in control of her, where it's just 2.
La forma de la colectividad es la de la casa larga, que es para nada que ver con la forma europea de traer al hombre que va a ser el dueño del castillo y que va a poder hacerle lo que quiera a la mujer porque está en el castillo del hombre.
This is a corruption in the non-native world through religion that has created the current concept of marriage.
Y esa es la corrupción del mundo no autóctono, que con la religión creó la corrupción del matrimonio.
It's to steal the woman's power, take her away from her mother. He locks her away at home by herself in his castle where he is king, he is the law.
Para robarla de su madre, sacarla de su esfera del amor y traerla a su castillo y que él va a ser el rey en ese castillo.
And this is where he has given himself, granted himself the right and the power and the freedom to abuse women from that point of where he can isolate them.
Y es así que él mismo se da el derecho de abusar a las mujeres que él mismo ha aislado.
So yeah, in our world, the women are the owners of the house. Wolf Clan house, it's all Wolf Clan women living in there. It's all the Wolf Clan. They all live together. Any man that she might be involved with, you know, on a personal level, it's not going to be a Wolf Clan man. So that means her man she would be involved with is not going to be living in that house. He would not be able to abuse her.
Y cómo funciona en la casa larga con los clanes es que si esta es la casa del clan del lobo, son las madres, las mujeres del lobo que van a vivir ahí. y ella no podría estar en relación de pareja con un hombre lobo. Esto garantizaría que él no viviera ahí, que no fuera él el que abusaría, que nadie podría abusar con todo el tejido de madres juntas.
And with the natural law of creation, that, as you know, the women are the owners of the land. The women are the owners of everything. Men cannot own anything. We can't own land. We can't own a house. It's illegal.
Y en la ley natural de la creación, todo le pertenece a las mujeres, son ellas las dueñas de la tierra, del territorio. Es ilegal que un hombre pueda inclusive pensar que puede tener tierra o propiedad o que puede comprarse una casa.
And so in an existence like that, the woman is in complete control. She is never homeless. There can never be a homeless woman, which would mean that the stability, the psychological, mental, emotional stability of the woman, the life givers, are guaranteed.
Y en una existencia así, de la casa larga, las mujeres nunca estarían solas, lo que garantizaría un tejido de salud, de autoayuda, de sostenimiento, de entreayuda, y nunca estaría una mujer aislada, sola por sí misma.
And of course, that goes all the way up to so-called levels of so-called government control, where the woman can have the safe house. Oh, but if the government can tax you, they got the power to take that away from you. No, that does not exist in the world. That's only the white man's corruption.
Y no es así como de que tienes una casa, pero si deciden que te ponen más taxes, puede que te la quiten si no puedes pagar. Eso es una corrupción del hombre blanco.
Okay, let's
Ujú.
move on.
Vamos a continuar. Go ahead, Merrick.
Scanigoa, American Kyochets, Yonja Paula, Yonja the Nutna, Yotiskadewege. So, hello, my name is Merrick. I am the son of Paula, the grandson of Goldie, and I'm under the temporary protection of the Bear Clan through the Turo Wampum working group and relation.
Y Merrick se presenta de forma matrilineal, mencionando a su mami, a su abuelita, y que también es bajo la protección del clan del oso en relación Wampum de los Vías con la Casa Larga.
I guess two things. One, I want to just say something off of what Elsa said. It made me think of, or talking about going from just between 1 and 2, not just 1 and 2, but adding that third.
Y quiero agregar algo a lo que Elsa comentó con respecto a no solamente ir de 1 a 2, sino de agregar el tercero.
And one of the ways that I was thinking about it is how often how things are presented. It's polarized, right? There, you can be on one side of an issue or on the other, and you're on this line, either one or the other of the two.
Y pensaba en cómo muy seguido las cosas siempre van a ser presentadas como de que no hay de dos más que de dos opciones y son como las líneas duras. Es esto o aquello y no hay nada más.
And a lot of issues are presented like, left or right, or, for this or against this, right?
Y las cosas van a decirte, ¿no? O estás a la izquierda o a la derecha, o estás por este asunto o por el otro.
But there's no issue that is that simple, right? So adding that third point to compare against adds that third dimension and allows for a lot more complexity. And then it kind of depolarizes this position once you can see that third dimension to compare against.
Pero si se tienen dos nada más, pues siempre va a encontrarse muy polarizado. Pero si se agrega esta tercera parte de la que él hablaba, va a crear una capacidad de generar otra dimensión y que va a darle una gran complejidad a las interacciones también.
And so I think comparing against that third thing, whether it's, even just a third person, or whether it's community, or maybe even whether it's something like a constitution to compare against.
Y digamos, si hablamos de esta tercera parte como una constitución contra la cual dos partes podrían compararse,
you can find that what might have looked like a simple issue, left or right or for or against this one thing, by adding that third dimension and comparing against either this community or this constitution, you can see that there's a much more complex space where there's a lot more room for nuance. And in there, I think there's usually there's always room for peace in there. There's always more room for peace in that third perspectives, perception of a given situation.
Cuando se habla de dos, pues se puede simplificar la cosa porque no hay de otra una o el otra, pero nunca se llega a algo que pueda sostenerse, siendo que cuando se agrega la tercera parte que va a generar esta dimensión de interacción, se genera la posibilidad de crear otras opciones que jamás habrían sido contempladas y en ese espacio existe la paz.
So that was for that part. And then the other thing I wanted to say was just in respect to this new satellite location for the Life Givers Nation, this Tiro Wampum, agreement. It's just very exciting and I'm happy to hear it. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Noagoa.
Y eso por una parte, y por otra quería decir que con respecto al establecimiento de esta casa segura dentro de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida, me da mucho gusto poder escuchar eso y lo quería decir.
Well, don't forget that the Woman's Nation is not just for life givers.
Que no se te olvide que la Nación de Dadoras de Vida no es nada más para dadoras de vida.
You know that there is the interaction with the men who are supporting, who are part of the process.
Ya sabes que también está la interacción con los hombres que apoyan o que están siendo parte del proceso y de la interacción.
So that means also that if a man was moving across the country, that the man could also have access to that safe house.
Y eso significa que si un hombre estuviese viajando por el país, él también tendría acceso a esa casa segura.
But of course, it won't be on the same levels of accessibility that the life givers have.
Pero por supuesto que no tendría el mismo nivel de accesibilidad que las dadoras de vida.
But this means certain reality of our conduct in relation to that now.
Pero esto significa cierta realidad de nuestra conducta con respecto a eso.
Yesterday, we identified that any men who would be there now cannot swear, cannot speak with aggression, cannot talk loud, like anything that might be upsetting to, if there is a life giver there who is seeking out shelter, who needs it, something like that could be traumatizing. So any men who would be there must be within a certain conduct.
Y ayer dijimos que cualquier hombre que estuviese en el lugar tendría que conducirse de una forma, es decir, no tendría que decir groserías ni levantar la voz. Sería de su responsabilidad el no parecer ninguna amenaza para cualquier dadora de vida que estaría ahí que necesitara refugio.
And it also means it's a focal point for us.
Y significa que es un punto focal para nosotros también.
For what? For if you're driving by and you have an extra can of beans. Can of beans there will help them out.
Digamos, si van manejando y tienen una lata de frijoles extra, bueno, puede ser útil.
Or if somebody heard, let's say this hasn't happened yet. If there was a woman that needed absolute, like some really serious help, and let's say she was staying at Anne's place for maybe 2-3 weeks, and any man knew of this, heard of this, we could very easily assist. We could send money. We could send food. We could send blankets. Our participation there now is really limited by our own mind.
Y ese es el tipo de cosas que si una mujer se quedase en casa de Anne por 2 o 3 semanas porque necesita ayuda y que los hombres saben eso, podrían tal vez enviar comida o enviar dinero, hacer algo para poder ayudarle.
And something you made me think about when you were addressing the numbers thing.
Y algo en lo que me haces pensar cuando hablas de la cantidad, los números más bien.
Now, when Elsa said it, she didn't expose my mind to these thoughts. It's when you added on.
Cuando Elsa lo dijo, ella no me hizo pensar en eso, más bien fue cuando tú agregaste.
And maybe this thought is incorrect.
Y tal vez mi pensamiento está incorrecto.
But when we think about numbers, like what was said, 1s and 2s.
Pero cuando pensamos en números 1 y 2,
Well, you know that when there's no 3 there, 1s and 2s are, you can even break it down to something even more simpler, to 0s and 1s, like what the world of the computer.
Cuando hay unos y dos, significa que no hay algo más complejo y se puede inclusive hacer menos complejo, que sería el 0 y el 1, que es el mundo de las computadoras.
What it just made me think of is that even numbers are GMO'd.
Lo que me hizo pensar es que inclusive los números son genéticamente modificados,
Because they can't grow. They're stuck at zeros and ones.
porque no pueden crecer, están ahí parados en unos y ceros.
That's the equivalent of like GMOing a corn, that it can be there, but it can't grow its own. It can't renew itself.
Es el equivalente de haber hecho un maíz transgénico que ahí está, pero que no puede autorreproducirse.
So zeros and ones can't renew themselves.
Entonces los ceros y los unos no se pueden autorrenovar,
They're not growing.
no están creciendo.
The zeros and ones, in order for it to grow, it would be 2,
Para que crecieran tendría que ser 2,
but they're not, as you know.
pero no lo son, como sabes.
So it's just something to consider here. Now, I don't have my mind so much into that computer world and to be able to be thinking on certain levels, but, well, let's just have this floating around in our head. And as we become more exposed to numbers during the week, whether it's in computers or if it's out here in the real world, we're probably going to see something in relation to this.
Y es algo que considerar, a pesar de que mi mente no está en las computadoras, en los unos y en los ceros, porque no vivo en ese mundo, pues nada más que guardemos nuestras antenas abiertas, porque tal vez algo vayamos a escuchar al respecto esta semana.
All the numbers in the world that we have known forever up until now have all been reduced to zeros and ones now.
Todos los números que hemos conocido ahora han sido reducidos a unos y ceros.
So we can say, we can conclude that numbers in relation to humans using them or are connected to them, numbers have been GMO'd.
Entonces podemos concluir que los números en relación a la capacidad humana de utilizarlos, pues se han vuelto transgénicos.
Thoughts are being GMO'd, because if that, for numbers to be GMO'd and knowing their zeros and ones, these are thoughts.
Así como los pensamientos, porque es decir, que se piensa en términos de 1 y 0, esos son pensamientos.
So if our thoughts are being GMO'd, what would that mean? How does it play out? What does it look like? It means our dreams, our thoughts, our plans cannot come to fruition.
Y si nuestros pensamientos son modificados genéticamente, significa que nuestros deseos, nuestros sueños no pueden realizarse.
Like I said, maybe this is nothing. Maybe it's just coincidence stuff, you know, but maybe it's something for us to think about. I'm sure. I don't know. I don't think I've never heard this from anybody else. Doesn't mean it's not so, but I don't know. I think it's the first time I ever heard of that numbers are GMO.
Como dije, es tal vez la primera vez que lo escucho, que lo pienso, que los números han sido genéticamente modificados.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Eso es. Okay. And Janet, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Sego, Sewakwego, Skanakoa.
Oh,
Hi. So my name is Janet. I'm the daughter of Teresa, granddaughter to Gaji Chawentha. My clan is Bear. We come down from Kanawake through Akwesasne and onward south. So, yeah.
Se presenta de forma matrilineal y menciona que ella viene también del clan de El Oso, que se lo dio su mami y que también tiene orígenes en Kanawake.
It's nice to be here today, and this conversation has given me some questions and some food for thought.
Y es bueno estar aquí hoy porque toda esta conversación y preguntas le han dado en qué pensar.
So getting back to what Elsa was saying about in psychology, you know, you go see a therapist behind a closed door and it's a relationship between you and that person.
Y volviendo a lo que Elsa decía con respecto a la psicología, de que vas a ver a un terapeuta y tiene que ser una relación de 1 a 1.
And that if you just add another person in, it changes the equation, of course.
Y si se pone a otra persona, esto va a cambiar la ecuación.
But I'd like to include that without something outside of those three people, such as a thought acts, a thought or a group of thoughts, then there's no interaction. But to go one step further, within those group of thoughts that are controlling the situation, they have to be based on certain values, morals, and principles. And to go one step even further, within those values, principles, and morals, if they're not aligned with something greater, in this case, let's say Saoyer, then ultimately we have an agenda, whether there's 2 in the room or 3, of mob mentality. And that's what I was thinking. I think that it does take a village to raise a child. And so I think that like in society, everything's compartmentalized, you know, there's no real holistic living. So if a child has a problem, or an adult, they go see a shrink or a doctor, you know, or let's take the doctor, for example, you know, you go see a doctor. I went to see a doctor 4 years ago. I have a busted ankle. It will never heal. It's that bad. So I can fall at any point. And I come back to New York. I tell the doctor, he asks me, what's the matter? I said, well, I broke my ankle. And he sends me to a foot doctor. I get to the foot doctor and the foot doctor tells me, well, we can't see you here. However, they took x-rays before they even knew what was wrong. And I said, well, why can't you see me? He says, well, it's your ankle. We only deal with the foot. But if I still living in Minnesota, and I went and said I needed to be seen, the foot doctor would, and they sent me to a so-called foot doctor, they would see me for the ankle, you know, because they feel like, well, the foot's connected to the ankle or the ankle's connected to the foot. So what I'm trying to say here is that, oh, wait, I'm sorry, Edith, I'm talking too long.
Thank you, Janet. Janet dice que quería agregar a lo que Elsa mencionó con respecto al terapeuta, que inclusive si se agregara una tercera persona, eso no puede garantizar nada a menos de que las personas que están en esta interacción tengan un grupo de pensamientos basados en una serie de valores y principios comunes, porque si eso no está en la base, la conclusión no se puede llevar a cabo. Y compara su caso a cuando se cayó hace un tiempo y tenía el talón completamente deshecho, perdón, no el talón, el talón, me parece que sí es la palabra que estoy buscando, ya me hice bolas. Y le dijeron que no lo podían tratar en el doctor del pie porque el talón no era parte del pie. Entonces, es como para decir que realmente el mundo no autóctono ha sido tan compartimentalizado que ni siquiera pueden entender que todo está conectado a un grupo de pensamientos, de series de principios que no serían inventados por el hombre, sino es la naturaleza, lo que se conocería como saoyera.
My next question would be, which I'm really trying to understand how Longhouse works in order to deal with things. If the well is that's where you drop the issue in, right?
Y mi pregunta sería, en la forma de la casa larga existe el pozo y es ahí en donde se avienta el asunto, ¿cierto?
So when the issues dropped into the well, what do they actually do before they present the issue to the people? Is there any dialogue or comprehension or?
Y cuando el asunto es puesto en el pozo, ¿qué es lo que ellos hacen después en relación a la gente? Es decir, ¿van a hablar con ellos o cómo va a hacerse la comunicación?
Because I think you were saying in the Stacks meeting that when it's dropped into the well, then like they know what's going on, so then they determine on whether or not it's the issues to be presented. And I could be wrong, I'm not sure. I should go back and listen again, but that was my question, like.
Porque creo que es como lo presentabas en la junta de STAC, que ellos son los que van a tener el conocimiento para saber cómo presentar el asunto y si es necesario presentarlo. Entonces, esa es mi pregunta.
I get you. Like we said in the Stacks meeting, if something is missing, we're not going to know what the hell it is. So we're not going to be able to know how to formulate a thought around it because we don't know what it is.
Como dijimos en el encuentro STAC, si hace algo falta, no vamos a poder saber lo que es.
So in anything, like what we say all the time, when we're addressing something new, it's like feeling in the dark.
Y en lo que sea, cuando vamos a presentar algo nuevo, es un poco como cuando estamos tratando de sentir las cosas en la oscuridad.
So I understand your question here is like not even knowing how to formulate that question, not even knowing what to connect it to, what to latch it on to.
Entonces entiendo tu pregunta porque es como si ni siquiera saber cómo formularla.
Because there is a whole process that the well goes through once anything is dropped in the well.
Porque hay todo un proceso por el cual el pozo pasa una vez que algo ha sido puesto en el pozo.
Now, everything in the world is dropped into the well.
Y todo en el mundo es puesto en el pozo.
The well knows everything.
El pozo lo sabe todo.
Now, it doesn't mean that they're aware of everything,
No significa que estén conscientes de todo,
but through the well's knowledge of law, knowing that everything fits within creation, then everything fits within that law, then everything is knowable.
pero con el conocimiento de la ley del pozo, sabiendo que todo corresponde en la ley, entonces todo puede ser conocido.
So the well takes the information that nobody has dropped into it because everything, the tree outside my window is dropped into the well.
Y el pozo va a colectar todo lo que no ha sido puesto en el pozo, porque inclusive el árbol se encuentra ahí.
This is where to expand a little bit on the conversation we had yesterday about the clan system.
Y para ir más allá con respecto a la discusión que tuvimos del sistema de clan ayer,
The wolf clan has a certain trait that is intrinsic to the wolves.
el clan de lobo tiene ciertas características que son intrínsecas al lobo.
Is they're always out there everywhere. They don't sleep. They're always aware of everything that is happening in their territory, which is creation.
Que siempre están en algún lado, nunca duermen, siempre están en constante conecte con lo que ocurre en su territorio, en la creación.
So the people are asleep
Y si la gente duerme,
and the wolf is out there.
y ahí está el lobo afuera,
And just as an example, it sees that a tree is broken in half and that it's in the pathway and it's going to fall on the people.
y ve que hay un árbol que está roto y que se va a caer encima de la gente.
No one has to present that to the well.
Nadie tiene que presentarle esto al pozo.
The well being aware and being alive within its territory and knowing what the well, knowing what its agenda is.
Siendo que el lobo está vivo y conociendo cuál es su agenda,
It looks at the thing, the circumstance,
va a ver al asunto
and it addresses it from within law.
y lo va a abordar a partir de la ley.
And then from within law, if it is deduced that it is in fact warrants the being addressed by the people, then the well will present it to the people.
Y si de la ley se ve que puede ser presentado a la gente, entonces el pozo lo va a hacer.
But the well will not present an issue just to say, oh, there's this broken tree, and what are we gonna do about it?
Pero el pozo no va a decir nada más, ay, tenemos este árbol roto y qué vamos a hacer al respecto.
No, the well must by law examine it and present a conclusion, a solution.
No, lo que el lobo debe de hacer es examinarlo y presentar una conclusión, una solución,
A proposal.
una propuesta.
The well never puts anything out to the people where the people are gonna have to like try to guess or put it together themselves.
El pozo nunca va a presentar algo a la gente que la gente tenga como que adivinar o ellos hacerlo.
Now, this is of course of things that are of public domain.
Esto es por supuesto de cosas que son de asunto público.
Now, if there is things that are of, say, of more private nature,
Y si hubiese asuntos de naturaleza más privada,
let's say your broken foot a few years ago. If you didn't know, if nobody ever knew, first time anybody ever broke a foot.
y digamos, tu talón que te rompiste hace tiempo, si antes nunca nadie se había roto un talón,
Well, you not knowing, you know, nobody ever broke a foot before, you don't know what it is, you would bring it to first. Just your clan mother, somebody in your clan, it would automatically rise to the top.
no sabrías lo que es, entonces se lo presentarías a tu madre de clan y iría hasta lo que sea digno de ser presentado en consejo.
And so within the clan, before it gets to council, the clan must assess.
Y en el clan, una vez que antes de que llegue a consejo, es el clan el que debe determinar.
And then they would determine, first, you brought an issue to a public level, then the well, or the well within the clan, because each clan has a well, the well within the clan will assess that, oh, wait a minute, no, this is just of a private nature, of a private concern. It doesn't warrant or constitute bringing the issue to the public arena.
Y entonces el pozo de cada clan, porque cada clan tiene un pozo, debería decir, esto que estás trayendo no es digno de ser puesto en el consejo porque es de una naturaleza privada.
And so instead of presenting it to council, you would go directly to a doctor.
Y en lugar de presentarlo al consejo, se iría directo a un doctor.
But if the individual felt that it was not properly assessed by the well, within, whether it's the well of the nation or the well within their clan,
Pero si no tuviera esta información en su clan,
then the individual has so many avenues of being able to readdress that, to bring it forward and to say, hey, this person assessed that it didn't warrant public awareness, but for these reasons, I say that it does. Now, if the other person can see your point, your position, if it's warranted, then the other person could bring it to the clan, the one that just refused it.
y si estás presentando algo para que sea llevado al público, pero alguien te dice que no, pero tú encuentras los argumentos necesarios para justificar que sí es un asunto público, entonces tiene que subir de todas formas a ser presentado al consejo.
So this is just to identify that there are many different avenues of addressing and readdressing, revisiting an issue.
Todo esto para decir que hay diferentes formas de abordar y revisitar un asunto.
But also, myself personally, I do not allow any private, if you want to say like meetings or consultation.
Y yo personalmente no permito ningún encuentro o consulta privada, si lo quieren decir así.
Because when it's just two, anything can happen,
Porque cuando hay solo dos, cualquier cosa puede ocurrir.
especially under the circumstances or conditions that exist today. We are not together the way we are supposed to, so it's not entirely safe for just two to be interacting on things of importance.
Especialmente bajo las circunstancias del día de hoy, que todo es como frágil. No es seguro que dos personas interactúen solamente en cuanto a algo importante.
So myself, whenever anybody comes and wants to talk about something, you know, I always make sure there's always somebody there, and I tell everybody, no, not private. And more now, somebody has an issue, I tell them, come to the Wednesday night Zoom. It's gotta be public for everyone to see. There's nothing private about my existence.
Y cuando alguien viene y quiere hablar en privado, siempre trato de tener a alguien más ahí, porque no puede ser entre de uno a uno. Y sobre todo cuando la gente quiere venir, cada vez más les trato de decir que sean los miércoles del Zoom, porque todo tiene que ser a la esfera más pública posible.
And this is the way that everybody has to live. There's nothing private about your existence.
Y es así como todo mundo tendría que vivir. No hay nada privado de su existencia.
Let's take, for instance, even going to the bathroom. You would think right off the top of your head, oh, that's private.
Por ejemplo, ir al baño, pensarían que eso es privado.
But let's see, if we don't tell people, let's say if you're backed up for a week or two, you're not going to the bathroom, and you don't tell people, very soon, out of your control, it's going to become very public.
Pero si, digamos, no han ido al baño por una semana y no se lo dicen a nadie, pues de todas maneras se va a volver público, lo quieran o no.
And even for the health of us, as you know, you go to a doctor and you tell the doctor, I'm not going to the bathroom. I haven't gone for a week. But at home, you're not telling anybody. So the loved ones and the people around you, they're not aware of what's happening with you. Something happens, you're surprising them.
Y también si hay alguna afección que tienen, no le dicen a nadie en la familia, nada más al doctor. Entonces, si algo ocurre, después están sorprendiendo a todo el mundo.
And especially if you tell people, hey, I haven't gone to the bathroom for a week. Well, maybe one of the people that you're telling this is going to know a solution. And through that collective, you being public, collectively will be able to provide the solution to your circumstance.
Pero si alguien dice que está tapado de no va a ir al baño por una semana y lo cuenta a alguien, a lo mejor ese alguien va a tener una solución.
So everything on a public level, you, every individual, if you're not living public, start implementing it within yourself. Start being public. This means that the reasons why you want to be private, the things you want to hide, that means you're going to become a better human because you won't have anything in your life that you can hide.
Y si ustedes tienen cosas que tienen que esconder, bueno, empiecen a ejercer cosas, de hacerlo público, porque eso les va a permitir ser una persona que no tiene nada que esconder.
And you know that today, like through social media, this is the most hypocritical. You got people out there who are very private, who are very corrupt, who depend on their privacy. And the moment they'll see somebody being public or whatever, they'll address them, they'll call them down, or they'll say something about them. This is the backwardsness of the society today.
Y se ve mucho en las medias sociales que la gente depende de su privacidad, pero si alguien aborda todo con lo más público posible, los van a llamar de todo tipo de nombres. Ahí se ve cómo la sociedad está completamente al revés.
Okay, I don't know if that answers your question, if that addresses it.
No sé si eso responde a tu pregunta.
If it does, well,
Yeah, I think it does. I was mostly concerned about if there was true consensus, and also what issues are brought to Longhouse as opposed to, like you said, within the clan.
Creo que sí, lo que más se preocupaba era saber si podíamos alcanzar un consenso y también qué cosas se pueden abordar en consejo comparativamente dentro de un encuentro de clan.
Well, you see, this is the thing about consensus, true consensus.
La cuestión, la cuestión con el verdadero consenso,
Let's look at a family of parents and children.
hay que ver una familia de mamá, papá, niños.
Hey, what do we want to eat today?
¿Qué queremos comer hoy?
Are we going to have consensus?
¿Vamos a tener consenso?
No, because adults, you know, they're going to want to eat healthy. Kids, you know what they're going to want.
No, porque los adultos van a querer comer saludable, pero saben que van a querer comer los niños.
So it's important to know what consensus actually means.
Entonces es importante saber lo que significa el consenso.
Consensus is distorted today by democracy, meaning democracy gives everybody an equal voice, supposedly.
Que ha sido distorsionada hoy por la democracia que supuestamente le da una voz igual a todos.
Within the family, a mother, a father, and children, who would be that stupid to give each person in there an equal voice?
Pero en una familia de mamá, papá y niños, ¿quién sería tan estúpido como para darle una voz igual a todo mundo?
If that was the case, give each person an equal voice. Well, here's the parents who are in control of the money to feed and to clothe the family, but because everyone has an equal voice, they're off in the arcade somewhere spending all that money.
Si fuera la voz igual para todos, imaginen que los papás tienen el dinero para poder dar de comer y vestir a los niños, pero que en lugar de gastarlo ahí, se van a gastarlo en las maquinitas.
Consensus does not mean what everyone agrees upon. It doesn't mean that.
El consenso no significa que todo el mundo está de acuerdo sobre algo.
Consensus rooted within law means everyone agreeing to uphold law.
El consenso dentro de la gran ley de la paz es que todo el mundo está de acuerdo a aplicar la ley.
Now that's different than just a consensus of a group of people who got to conclude on a thought of where to go eat dinner.
Y eso es distinto a un consenso de algo a lo que un grupo tiene que concluir, como a dónde vamos a ir a cenar.
Where if you had constitution law that says, well, somebody, because of the ball game at this time, this clan has to do the cooking.
Y si tienes una constitución y se dice debido al juego de la pelota, ahora es este clan que tiene que cocinar.
Well, then you can see then in that instance that consensus isn't about a bunch of loose thoughts that are going to come together to decide who's going to do the cooking. Consensus is based on everyone agreeing to uphold law, which determines who's going to do the cooking.
Entonces, el consenso no se basaría con a ver quién se va a poner de acuerdo en qué cocinar y cómo, sino en que todo el mundo está de acuerdo que van a aplicar el resultado de cómo se sabe quién va a cocinar basado en la ley.
So then after that, it comes down to where if there's somebody's got a dispute, it basically comes down to then if the person agrees with the interpretation, with the job that the well is doing.
Y si hay algún conflicto, más bien sería si alguien tuviese un conflicto con la forma o la interpretación en la que el pozo está haciendo las cosas.
If a person doesn't, they can push forward to have the well actually changed.
Y si la gente ve que el pozo no está haciendo su trabajo, la gente puede hacer que el pozo sea cambiado.
Because each house is not going to have the same agenda.
Porque cada casa no va a tener la misma agenda.
For instance, go into some house, I don't know, whatever house. I couldn't even think of some house because I know there's no houses. There's no other houses. But go into some imaginary house and look at what their agendas are. What are they doing? Get consensus there. And you know where their consensus is going to have you? It's going to have you in trivial affairs.
Si van a cualquier otra de las casas y que si pienso en términos de casas, ni siquiera sé a cuál le llamaría así, pero si ellos quieren hacer consenso sobre algo, van a ver que están haciendo consenso sobre cosas triviales.
Here, just the mere existence of the hemp unity agenda tells you, it exemplifies to you the difference of well.
Aquí el hecho de que exista la unión del cáñamo identifica la presencia del pozo.
Now, like I said, when people disagree with the direction of well, the management of well, then they can always seek to have that well replaced, or else they can always just go to another house.
Y como dije, si la gente ve que hay algo que no funcione en términos del pozo, pues pueden hacerlo llegar al pozo y tratarlo o simplemente irse a otra casa.
But what good would it do to go to another house if all the houses are not supposed to be run based on opinion? They're supposed to be run based on law. So if you go to another house, what difference would it make if you were not satisfied with the well over here? If you went over there, you'd be in the same thing.
Pero ¿y de qué serviría cambiarse de casa si el pozo no debe de guiarse por su propia opinión, sino por la ley? Entonces, si no te gusta cómo hacen las cosas, un pozo aquí, ¿cuál va a ser la diferencia con nosotros?
So the most important thing to know about well is that don't focus on well, focus on yourself. It's yourself that affects well.
Lo más importante que saber con relación al pozo es que no hay que concentrarse en lo que hace el pozo, sino en concentrarse en lo que tú haces, que eso es lo que afecta al pozo.
So if the person is like the status quo of people, say like here in Ganawagi, there's a bunch of people who claim to be longhouse people.
Entonces, si digamos, hablamos de aquí de Canahuague, que la gente está en el statu quo, pero dice que son gente de la casa larga,
What are they doing as longhouse people?
¿y qué están haciendo como casa larga?
Just look at their most recent endeavor, whatever it may be.
Si se ve su asunto más reciente,
But you'll see that they don't have any endeavors
pero van a darse cuenta que no tienen ningún asunto en realidad,
because they don't have an active well.
porque no tienen ningún pozo activo.
You would see right now, if they had an active well, they would have positions on things, sort of like what you see coming from well here.
Si tuviesen un pozo, verían posiciones como las que ves que salen del pozo aquí.
So the perception of things on every level, it's not so much, it's not about that thing or that person that's in that position. It's about you and your relation to it and how you either function or dysfunction in relation to it.
Entonces, la persona que es un pozo no hay que verla como ella, sino más bien si hay algo que no funciona, ¿qué es lo que no funciona de tu parte en relación con esa persona que ocupa el pozo?
I could say, sort of like the same thing as what you watched in Texas. I could say, just like the police there, that this is not my responsibility. It's not my job.
Yo podría decir que sería un poco como la policía de Texas que dijeron que no era su responsabilidad ni su trabajo.
So this means also there you see a reciprocal relationship from the people to well and from the well to people.
Hay una relación recíproca de la gente hacia el pozo y del pozo hacia la gente,
It's a living thing.
que es algo viviente.
So all you got to do is then look, well, is there any living wells? Is there any living relationship like this?
Y lo único que se tendría que saber es, ¿hay alguna relación viviente así?
I'll say to you only here, but does that mean it's true?
Yo les diría solamente aquí, pero eso significaría que es cierto.
Go in search of and try to find well, trying to find one that's functioning.
Vayan en búsqueda del pozo, traten de encontrar uno que funcione.
You can throw anything into their well if they have one, and nothing is going to be addressed.
Pueden aventar lo que sea en su pozo, si dicen que tienen uno, pero no va a haber nada que pueda ser tratado.
Okay, I don't know if that's okay. We're going to move on.
Si está bien, vamos a continuar.
I hate to drag this out, but it still doesn't make any sense. And I think where the confusion lies, I'm not sure if you're saying that the well is a level of consciousness rather than something that is practically done by human communication. Because in my eyes, anything that man does can be corrupted. And so I'm not trying to get on Longhouse ways or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that if the well is subject to interpreting the issue, the well is also subject to corruption because the well could misunderstand. Not saying corruption in a sense that it's wrong or blah, but that's all I'm trying to get at is like, is that true?
Yeah, it's 100% true.
Lo único sería que quiero entender si es el pozo el que interpreta, esa interpretación puede ser sujeta a corrupción porque cualquier hombre es sujeto a corrupción. Entonces, ¿eso es cierto? Esto responde sí.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 100%.
Go ahead.
It's 100% true, as long as there is privacy.
Sí hay privacidad, es cierto.
That's why, like I said, myself, I do not talk to anyone on any level by myself.
Es por eso que yo lo digo, yo no le hablo a nadie a ningún nivel, a uno en privado.
Whoever's going to talk to me at this stage of life and knowing who I am, they can't afford to waste any time.
Quienes me vengan a hablar a mí a estas alturas no pueden permitirse perder el tiempo.
Meaning they can't afford to, say, spend an hour talking here in private where later on it can be manipulated into anything.
Porque si hoy hablan una hora aquí en privado, que puede ser manipulado en lo que sea.
So we only have time to speak publicly where it cannot be manipulated anywhere else down the line. So instead of later on being in this conversation to check it and to control it, and that conversation to do the same, instead of doing that, wasting so much time, right here in the get-go, we correct all possibilities by having it 100% public level, public access.
Y en lugar de tener una conversacióncita privada aquí o allá, se hace a nivel público.
Okay, I'll just say one thing is in terms of privacy. For myself personally, I don't live in a community that is holistic because of this dominant society, and because of politics and what have you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I'd be somewhere else in a better situation. However, with that being said, if I do say anything in private, if anybody wants to know what I have to say, I will tell them. But my argument sometimes, not all the times, because I do believe that honesty and bringing things out in the light is the only way to keep corruption from manifesting.
Estoy segura que nada más cuando se presentan las cosas en público puede uno evitar que la corrupción se manifieste.
But at the same time, I'm losing my train of thought here. Oh, okay. I used to work with alcoholics, and there was a policy that we had where we kept things confidential insofar as it might do more harm to that person. However, we would be in a situation where we were in a group of more than 2 or 3 people, like what Elsa was saying, in order to help this person with their problem, like a group therapy, right? So where do you draw that line? Because at some point, like, that's why I'm afraid sometimes to speak on a platform like this in case it would do harm to me. Maybe someone's after me, you know, maybe I'm running from domestic abuse, you know what I mean? So it's, but I mean, that's a bad example. But I'm just saying, like, with certain situations, I don't know. I guess the thing is, you can't have an open forum with the whole world. I mean, maybe you could, but I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But you did answer my questions about, you know, how the process works with the turtle, wolf, and bear.
Parece que es un poco como no se puede tener todo en un foro público abierto todo el tiempo. Por ejemplo, yo trabajé con Alcohólicos Anónimos en una línea de no decir ciertas cosas porque podría ponerles en peligro o ser una amenaza, pero sí entiendo lo que dices acerca de poner todo público en un contexto de tortuga lobo y oso.
Well, I think what you're expressing here is something that can only be expressed in a flip-flop.
Creo que lo que estás diciendo nada más puede ser expresado en una inversión.
We're used to this, you know, it's this way all the time, but we're flip-flopping. So we're seeing the world maybe turned upside down or diametrically opposite to the way that we're used to it.
Estamos acostumbrados a ver las cosas así, pero de repente es completamente de la otra forma
So there's gonna uncertainty, there's doubt.
y va a haber duda.
And so this is where all people are.
Y es ahí en donde toda la gente se encuentra,
It's not a physical place.
que no es un lugar físico,
It's a place in the mind, a place in thought,
sino en el pensamiento.
a place where people are afraid to go.
Y la gente tiene miedo de ir ahí.
Everybody's used to having, you're used to hearing this. Let's say an individual goes to a doctor. It's private. It's kept private.
Y la gente se acostumbró a eso. Si vas a un doctor, tiene que ser en privado.
Does a doctor have the right to pledge themselves to privacy to a person who's coming to them for help prior to them knowing the circumstance?
Un doctor tendría el derecho de hacer un juramento a la privacidad, sabiendo que las circunstancias son más delicadas que esa.
I'm a doctor and I pledge myself to your privacy.
Soy un doctor y juro a tu privacidad.
You come to me and I find out that you have a highly contagious disease.
Y vienes y me dices que tienes una enfermedad bien contagiosa.
Should I be pledged to your privacy?
Tendría que jurar en tu privacidad.
Of course, that person depends on their privacy. They want privacy.
Por supuesto que la persona depende de su privacidad y quisiera eso.
But if they got a highly contagious disease, then does that person deserve the level of privacy that they are demanding that they have?
Pero si tuvieran una enfermedad contagiosa, la persona tendría el derecho a la privacidad que quieren.
This is where in the non-native world, the privacy, the individuality, the individualness is what is the destruction.
Y es ahí en donde en el mundo no autóctono la privacidad, la individualidad es la destrucción.
So we cannot adopt their ways.
Y no podemos adoptar sus formas de hacer las cosas.
If a person's going to a doctor for a broken foot,
Si una persona va al doctor por un pie roto
and it's found out that, no, it's not a broken foot, it's a contagious disease that you have that, I don't know, it makes your bones brittle.
y se le dice que no es un hueso roto, sino una enfermedad que hace que sus huesos se debiliten.
And so if you're around other people, they can catch that also. Everybody will have brittle bones.
Y que la enfermedad es contagiosa. Bueno, si esa persona entra en contacto con alguien más, todos van a tener huesos frágiles.
Hence, we can see where the publicness overpowers the individual desire for privacy.
Y podemos ver en donde lo público va a afectar, o más bien va a sobrepasar el deseo individual de privacidad.
Now, in the world, it's up to the heads to be able to determine these things.
Y en el mundo le pertenece a las cabezas representantes determinar estas cosas.
Now, this is wherein a problem may come,
Y es ahí en donde el problema puede venir.
because any given person may not like the conclusions that well arrives at.
Porque puede que a alguna persona no le gusten las conclusiones a las que el pozo llega.
Or it's not even a matter of if they don't like it, it's just a matter of them looking at, they're not used to seeing such things, and making decisions, well, they're just thinking that, well, those decisions should not be made. Not that the decision is wrong, but the overall thing that they're looking at should not even be something to be addressed.
Pero si no están acostumbrados, van a ver que eso a lo que quieren abordar no debería ser abordado en la forma en la que el pozo propone, sino en la forma en la que ellos querrían.
Bottom line is, in a nation, somebody is going to be making decisions.
Pero en una nación va a tener que haber alguien que haga decisiones.
And within Longhouse, there is a set process. It's not left up to an individual's feelings or what their opinion is. It's left up to Constitution, what is good for everyone.
Y en la Casa Larga eso no va a ser dejado nada más así a la opinión, sino que está basado en la Constitución.
So this is what I've seen all my life anyways, that there's always somebody who's gonna be complaining or not happy about that person who's doing the job of well. But the person who's complaining, they would never do anything themselves, but complain about somebody else who's doing something.
Y eso es lo que yo he visto en mi vida, que la gente se va a quejar del trabajo que hace el pozo, pero la gente que se queja nunca haría nada con respecto a lo que está ocurriendo. Entonces, ese es el problema.
So this is the new defeatist mentality that not just the native people have, all people have it. They defeat themselves from doing anything about their terrible conditions.
Y es así que la gente se derrota a sí misma con respecto a la posibilidad de hacer algo con sus circunstancias.
I guess you could say that person is an inverted narcissist.
Y se podría decir incluso que esa persona podría ser un narcisista a la inversa,
Where their narcissism isn't externalized to manipulate and to affect the corruption,
en donde el narcisismo no es utilizado para afectar la corrupción,
but the narcissism is through not doing.
pero el narcisismo ocurre en no hacer,
Which they identify today as being apolitical. Apolitical people are the most narcissist people.
lo que identifican hoy como ser apolíticos. Los apolíticos son los más narcisistas,
Because it's not even their own narcissism that they're creating that's coming out of themselves that they're following. They're allowing the status quo narcissism from somebody else to overpower them.
porque no es el narcisismo que les viene de ellos, sino algo que ha sido infligido de la parte de alguien más y que les agarra.
That's terminology there. Let's see, that's where passive aggressiveness meet.
Y es en esa terminología en donde la pasividad, lo pasivo-agresivo surge.
Yeah, deep psychology and understanding in looking at anything about Guyana Rascano, but looking at the well, you will see the deepest psychology.
Y eso se observa en la aplicación de la gran ley de la paz, es una psicología profunda.
Okay, anyways, we're gonna move on.
Vamos a continuar.
All right.
There's what, 2 people left?
Yeah,
One
there's
person.
Marie-Claude.
Elsa right after she wants to speak, and then Hans.
Okay. I
Okay,
see.
that's it. Look, earlier we said we were doing just these few. Anybody that wanted to say anything really fast? Okay, so right now, what do we got? That's all we're going.
So it's Elsa again, and then France.
Okay.
I have to. I
Oh, you,
will
okay,
see.
can you talk and translate yourself? I'll be back.
Okay, yeah. Hello everyone, I'm Marie-Claude, great-granddaughter of Marie-Louise, granddaughter of Yvette, and daughter of Francine, and I act as temporary Bear Clan representative in the Life Givers Nation. Hola, soy María Claudia, me presento de forma matrilineal y soy la representante temporal del Clan del Oso en la Nación de Dadoras de Vida. I just wanted to share the excitement, how, you know, it's an amazing accomplishment that we are now existing in the world with the Life Givers Nation in Anne's house. Solo quería compartir que como excitante, como qué lindo es saber que ahora la Nación de las Dadoras de Vida existe físicamente en un lugar, entonces en el lugar de Anne. And I think that the main exciting thing is that with the Life Givers Nation, we were witnessing how many traps there are to affecting our voice in the world, basically, how many distractions. Y la cosa que tenemos es que hemos sido observando cómo hay distracciones en nuestro mundo que nos para nuestra voz de llegar al lugar donde podemos llegar para afectar los cambios. And it's also, I think, the first non-native place that is not religified as well. Y también es el único lugar que yo creo que podemos decir oficial que no llega a ninguna religión. So it's going to be very exciting because we learned here at the Longhouse that it's not a question of the amount of people that are working, but it really is about, you know, directing the proper energy into that person and removing the blocks, you know, the blockages that exist within us. Y lo que hemos aprendido en la Casa Larga es que realmente son los obstáculos que nosotros mismos ponemos que nos para de afectar lo que queremos en el mundo. So yes, very exciting because we can see now one individual, if they have the real intent of peace in the world, the fact that they will be supported by a community and all the traps have been removed, we clearly see everything is possible. So it's clearly extremely exciting. Y entonces sabemos que una persona puede cambiar el mundo, entonces va a ser muy interesante ver cuando sacamos todas las cosas que puede parar esta persona de afectar lo que quiere en el mundo. Si su corazón está puro, va a poder hacerlo. And lastly, of course, you know, with the hemp unity, we have now an agenda also to physically affect into the world, and to have a physical place like this is going to be, of course, building, and it's not going to be erased, because we see in the non-native world when people join any kind of NGO or like where religion is used or democracy, then there's no chances for this organization to go further, you know, like to go far, you know, and to have like a great proper deliberation process when there is a conflict that arises as well. You know, that's a big problem that we see in the organization that makes the organization basically break, you know. So to know that the Life Givers Nation has identified all throughout these years, you know, a lot of things, we still have a lot to grow, but to know that these traps that normally people with the good mind want to affect in the world that are now removed really opens up to, you know, what the life givers want in the world, in this is absolutely great. Entonces, también, bueno, decir que, bueno, también de remover, de sacar todos estos bloques, va a ser que vamos a poder afectar el cambio en el mundo y el deseo y el sueño de las dadoras de vida. Thank you.
Who's next?
I guess it's me.
No.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to make wiki. In French, we have an expression. And I would say it shows the male dominance in the European French mindset. In French, we say, on la façon l'extérieur en public. And in English, we would say, don't wash your dirty clothes in public. So it shows how backwards Europeans, Frank, Quebecois are dealing with things.
Entonces, hay un dicho que dice que no hay que lavar la ropa en público, y eso significa que hay algo que los quebecois están haciendo de la forma no correcta.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Y eso quería decir. So it's your turn.
Hi, my name is France. I'm the great granddaughter of Hermeline, the granddaughter of Angelina, the daughter of Giselle. I'm also the mother of Rémi Yago and Jean-Sébastien, and grandmother of Jacob and Michael. And in the Life Givers Nation, I'm temporary Turtle Clan member.
No, se presenta de forma matrilineal diciendo que es miembro temporal del clan de la tortuga en la Nación de Dadoras de Vida.
So regarding what happened with the safe house, I would just wanted to say that I'm very, very happy that this process is starting, and it's for me the beginning of a greatest thing that is yet to be seen.
Y quería decir que con esto de la Nación de Dadoras de Vida y la Casa Segura está empezando un gran proceso que todavía vamos a poder observar.
I can't find the words to be expressing my pride of being part of this at a distance.
Y es como si no puedo encontrar las palabras de qué tan contenta me siento de haber podido participar esto a la distancia.
Thank you for all the work you've done for that.
Gracias por el trabajo que hicieron.
And regarding privacy, I have a few questions that is related to the fact that if that what you've just said is true, is it mean that first it's the end of friendship and then you cannot have like a one-to-one relationship, and what it is like for the couple? I mean, the LGBTQ is pushing the fact that, you know, they want us all to know their private relationship, sexually relationship. They want to groom the children. And also Quebec Prime Minister Legault have sold all our information on health to the World Economic Forums. I was wondering what's your position on this?
Me pregunto qué es lo que significa con esto de que todo tiene que ser público. Significa que las amistades de uno a uno ya no pueden existir. Y también quería preguntarte con respecto a eso que está ocurriendo en el foro económico de Davos, ¿qué es lo que piensas al respecto?
I just want to compliment that we all know that we are in between so many different kind of level of lifestyle, and all of us have been affected in different ways of being aggressed in so many ways that we don't feel that this is something we want to bring into the public around.
Y sabemos que hemos sido tan afectados de muchas formas y que hay cosas distintas en nuestros niveles de vida, en nuestras vidas privadas, que son cosas que tampoco queremos necesariamente presentar en público.
So it seems to me that it would open the door for more bullying, because we all know that bullies all often prey on the weakest one. So when they see that you've been weakened by some things, they target you more and more. So I'm kind of questioning everything you've said about being public on every level.
Y siento que haría que también haya más intimidación, porque los intimidadores, los bullies, van a ir a agarrarse a las presas fáciles. Siento que esto podría ser una consecuencia de que todo sea público.
So waiting for your answer.
Okay, well, what you said about Legault selling information to the World Health Organization.
Lo que dijiste de que Legault le está vendiendo información a la Organización Mundial de la Salud.
Well, this tells you that you don't have any privacy in your own medical records.
Esto te indica que ni siquiera en tus propios registros médicos tienes privacidad.
So it would be utterly stupid for somebody to go into a doctor's office today and to try to, I don't know, say, I want this to remain private, when on the highest level, provincial level, it's sold out, that you got no privacy in your medical, within your medical records.
Y sería una tontería que alguien vaya al doctor y le diga, quiero que esto sea privado, siendo que todos los registros médicos son vendidos a los niveles más altos.
Okay, now, like what was said, well has to determine if this constitutes public domain.
Y como se dijo, es el pozo el que tiene que determinar si esto constituye un nivel público.
So this tells you, as you know, yes, it does not do away with friendship. It does not do away with private relationships. No, it actually makes them more truthful, more solidified.
Y eso no significa que se termina con las relaciones de amistad o relaciones privadas, sino que por el contrario las hacen más fuertes.
This is the reason why there are heads to determine what is private, what is public.
Es por esto que hay cabezas para determinar qué es lo privado y qué es lo público.
And it's really a waste of time, like, to discuss that in advance, to say, this is what's private, this is what's public, because the realms could go on endlessly.
Y es una pérdida de tiempo discutir de asuntos antes para saber si algo va a ser privado o público, porque sus ramificaciones pueden ser sin fin.
So this is where, like was said, that if a person doesn't like the way is running things, managing things, then the person could, even if they're from another clan, could petition to have changed. But you have to have legal reason. There must be legal reason to constitute any changes.
Y por eso se menciona que cualquier persona tiene el derecho de remover al pozo, pero para hacerlo necesita tener razones dentro de la ley.
So there's private stuff. There's always been private stuff. There's always going to continue to be private stuff. When we say everything is public, we're talking about stuff that is public domain. If you come to me about what your issues about whatever, well, we're going to look at it. We'll say, well, this is public. Talk to us publicly about this.
Y siempre va a haber asuntos privados. Entonces, cuando uno viene a presentar un asunto al pozo, entonces ahí es en donde va a ser determinado. Esto que estás diciendo tiene que ser presentado a nivel público.
So that answers your question. I don't know if you have anything further on that.
Esto responde a tu pregunta.
Well, just what I brought about the LGBTQ, that really want us to know everything that they're doing with their sexual life, and wanting to groom the children and asking the children to masturbate and all these things. What is your position on that?
Y con respecto a las comunidades LGBTQ y que están inclusive haciendo que los niños se masturben en las escuelas, ¿qué quieren que toda nuestra sexualidad y nuestra vida privada sea pública? ¿Cuál es tu posición al respecto?
Okay, our position on that is clear. We're not even discussing that.
Nuestra posición es clara al grado que ni siquiera discutimos eso.
No one has their right to bring their sexuality into the public domain, to put it into your head about, oh, my sexuality. In your head, nobody's got that right.
Nadie tiene el derecho de venir a hablar de su sexualidad y de ponérsela en la cabeza a alguien más.
And just because a person has, because they're confused in their sexuality, it does not give them any other rights other than what everybody already has.
Y porque una persona está haciendo de su sexualidad algo público, eso no significa que le da el derecho de hacerla de otra persona algo igual.
So let's say if you are a person who is gender confused,
y si hay alguna persona que está confundida respecto a su género,
and you want to use, let's say if you're a woman or a guy and you want to use the opposite sex's bathroom.
Y si son una mujer o un hombre y quieren utilizar el baño del sexo opuesto.
This is the stupidity of the non-native world.
Esa es la estupidez del mundo no autóctono.
Let them be stupid like that.
Déjele ser así.
I know you're in that world, you're a part of that world.
Yo sé que eres parte de ese mundo.
But the stupidities and the corruptions are the things that have to be separated from.
Pero son justo las estupideces de las cuales uno se tiene que separar.
So we're not stupid like that world.
Y no somos estúpidos como ese mundo.
We do not discuss anyone's sexuality.
Y no discutimos la sexualidad de quien sea.
No matter how much that confused person wants to bring it to the forefront and make it a public issue. No, the public will never do that. That's only in the white man's world where they will do that. That will not happen here.
Poco importa a qué grado quieran traerlo hacia el dominio público. Eso ocurre en el mundo no autóctono, pero aquí no.
But like everything, like we said, there's two tiers to everything. There is the private domain and then the public domain. So let's talk about those people who are gender confused with their sexuality. They want to bring it out to the public. We say no. But if they then, through their whatever, their behaviors, contract a contagious disease, then their sexuality is the public domain after that point. But that's the point after that where they don't want their sexuality to be known. So this is a confused people who are manipulating the society into a complete social confusion.
Y en el caso de la gente que está confundida con su género, nunca se tendría que hablar de nada de su sexología o de su sexualidad, lo que sea, a menos de que contrayeran una enfermedad contagiosa, pero es ahí en donde ellos ya no querrían que sea el dominio público, siendo que es ahí en donde tendría que hacerse de dominio público. Entonces, en el mundo no autóctono todo está de cabeza.
Now, this is where some people who are of those confused would say, of our behavior towards that or how we address it, they would say, well, then this is not like our addressal of it is corrupted.
Y de esa gente confundida van a pensar que de la forma en la que nosotros no abordamos sus asuntos es que estamos corruptos.
Well, let's see. If I, as a straight person, does not want a homosexual's sexuality and doesn't permit it in the public arena,
Pero si yo como persona heterosexual no me interesa saber lo que una persona homosexual haga de su sexualidad,
is it my response to an action they initiated that's corrupt? Or is it the action they initiated that's corrupt?
pero que ellos de todas maneras van a venirme a hablar de su sexualidad en un nivel público, sería mi reacción a lo que ellos están haciendo, la corrupción, o más bien ellos que están trayendo eso al dominio público, la corrupción.
And so after they're parading themselves in the street and forcing their sexuality into your face everywhere,
Entonces, antes de pasearse por las calles, forzando su sexualidad por todos lados,
and when it is found out that they then have some sexually transmitted disease,
y cuando se sabe que tienen alguna enfermedad transmitida sexualmente,
that is of genuine threat to the public.
y que es una amenaza verdadera al público,
Like I said, this is where they want it to remain private. This is where I say their sexuality then must be made completely public.
y que es ahí donde van a quererse quedar privados, pero es ahí en donde tendría que ser público.
Everybody must know that they have, if they have contracted a sexually transmitted disease, everyone must know about that. They do not have the right to privacy on that issue because as things have played out, the majority of people who are that way are very publicly sexually active. No, mind you, not all of them, but the majority.
Y si han contraído una enfermedad es en donde tendría que ser del dominio público, porque la mayoría puede que tengan varios compañeros sexuales.
Otherwise, when there's a homosexual parade in the street, who else other than somebody who's socially, sexually active would go out there into the street and parade their sexuality?
Porque ¿quién sería el que va a ir a la calle a pasearse y a promover su sexualidad aparte de alguien que es sexualmente activo?
It's confused people, and those confused people are not going to control what the people who are not confused, how we are going to manage society.
Es gente confundida y la gente confundida no va a cambiar la forma en que la gente no confundida maneja su sociedad.
If they want to affect society in the ways that they are, they have to go outside of the existing society and go and create their own. Hence, you know that they have in every city, they got a homosexual village.
Y si quieren hacer sus corrupciones, tienen que salir del resto, y eso es lo que ocurre en cada ciudad. Tienen una ciudad homosexual.
So that says something to the rest of the society. When it's them, the homosexual, that projects, oh, you're marginalizing us. No, they marginalize themselves. They could live anywhere in the city, but oh, they all gravitate to the homosexual village.
Y toda esa discriminación que alegan está basada en sus propios actos, porque podrían haber vivido con el resto de la sociedad, pero escogieron tener una ciudad aparte.
Now, mind you, I know, and we all know, it's not like this as the status quo. We know that this is, well, I mean, as the exception, this is pretty much the status quo, but it's an unspoken thing. It's like a hidden thing there. The society allows it to allow these people to claim that they require certain rights, special rights, that everyone else doesn't have.
Y la gente lo permite, y ahora todo el mundo quiere que ellos tengan derechos especiales que el resto no.
Anyways, we're not talking about this subject. I'm not talking about anybody's sexuality. It's not for us to be discussing such things.
Pero hablar de la sexualidad de alguien, eso no nos corresponde a nosotros.
Yeah, so
Just to say that when it comes to the children being groomed in schools, and there's even like little children that committed suicide, like this little 10-year-old lately, it's becoming something very crucial to, and the Disney scandal and everything. For me, it's very concerning.
Solo para decir que cuando ya llega a tocar a los niños y que inclusive se van a suicidar por ese tipo de cosas, pues es algo muy preocupante.
well, you can give thanks to democracy for those circumstances existing.
Bueno, puedes agradecerle a la democracia que esas circunstancias existan,
Like we said, democracy is the state of schizophrenia.
porque como ya dijimos, la democracia es el estado de esquizofrenia.
You look at the schizophrenia that is in fact there within each so-called democratic country.
Y si ves la esquizofrenia de cada país supuestamente democrático,
You have the opposite ends of the spectrum. The people who are not even saying anything, but they have control over you and all of your money and all of your funds, and they're the warmongers. They're pushing war constantly. They're not even saying this to you.
tienes a la gente que está infligiéndote una agenda de guerra.
But then you have the other end of the spectrum, the people who will parade in the streets saying peace.
Y tienes a la gente que también va a ir a las calles a pedir paz.
How stupid is that? That you have that existing within the same country.
¿Cómo puede existir eso en el mismo país?
That is the complete exemplification of that democracy is a state of schizophrenia.
Ese es el ejemplo total de que la democracia es un estado de esquizofrenia total.
Now let's see something here. Let's say we're all standing in wherever, an open space, and over there is a gang of schizophrenic people. Who of us is going to want to go and join them?
Si vemos que aquí hay un grupo de gente esquizofrénica, ¿quién querría ir a unirse a ellos?
Can anybody think of any positive reasons why to go join a group of schizophrenic people?
¿Alguien puede pensar en cuáles serían las razones buenas para unirse a un grupo esquizofrénico?
Maybe you'll have a larger tax base.
Tal vez tienes una base de impuestos más amplia,
Because even if you got 10 people, well, you'll have maybe 50 people to tax from that tax base.
porque a pesar de que tengas 20 personas, pues van a ser 50.
But anybody, any positive, can you think of would you go and join a gang of schizophrenic people?
Pero alguien me puede decir, ¿se unirían a un grupo de gente esquizofrénica?
I don't think there's anybody in their right mind who would say, yeah, here's a positive to it. Well, maybe there is a positive to it. You might be holding your hand out to one, they'll give you $10 and then they'll forget about it and maybe they'll give you $10 again.
Tal vez alguien vería algo positivo diciendo que les darían $10 y al rato les volverían a dar $10 porque ya se les olvidó.
Bottom line is, only stupid people would accept being in a state of schizophrenia.
Pero sería solamente la gente estúpida la que aceptaría estar en un estado esquizofrénico.
if it was not, say, a naturally occurring state within the individual. No one would choose it.
Si eso no sería algo que el individuo escogería por sí mismo.
So why are people choosing democracy?
Entonces, ¿por qué la gente escoge la democracia?
Because in the first place, they are stupid.
Porque son estúpidos para empezar.
So stupid people step into a stupid thing and make themselves more stupid, meaning schizophrenic, giving themselves more minds to be more stupid within.
Y gente estúpida que va a darse más pensamientos para ser más estúpido.
Okay, anyways, we're gonna move on.
Vamos a continuar. There's Gloria that raised her hand. Adelante, Gloria.
Ay, buenas tardes, buenas tardes. Llegué un poquito tarde, se me olvidó hoy día que es la Reconstitución del Cóndor y el Águila.
I came in a little bit late because I had actually forgotten that today we had the Reconstitution.
I'm going to say in English, so you know the other ones can say in French or in Spanish. I want everybody to understand the message. This week, it happens that I have a neighbor that is being, she's being like a political refugee from Nicaragua with her with the family, two one boy, one girl, and a teenager, and the little one is like 8 years old. Her husband, the only one that's working. ICE, the Department of ICE, which is a big conversation that I wanted to touch another day about this mafia of this ICE thing, because nobody knows which agency is a pirate agency. Nobody knows where it comes from, but for sure it's being sent by England. So, you know, this ICE is allowing millions of people to travel from south to north now because they are launching these wars with mercenaries, with sicarios, with drug cartels. Drug cartels from Mexico are being transported to South America, welcomed by the governments, each government in South America, like Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, to kill their own people with other mercenaries from the countries that are being, you know, in this war for a long time, like Venezuela, Colombia, with the mafia and the narco trafficking. It is a mess. It's a completely mess. So I don't want to touch into so much because a lot of people is going to be trying to investigate. And I please, I plead everybody to please to pay attention, because we are not living in this you know, in the times that America didn't, American Europeans didn't care about what's going on in Mexico, because what's happening in Mexico is affecting directly into our lives in every single day. And we are not going to have peace because we are not paying attention to this. So this family, you know, the mother has been, you know, detained with the ICE, and she's being, you know, placed this device on the feet. And the woman, you know, only the husband is working, and her husband is working to pay, you know, the apartment and everything. And they have told her if she has no apartment to live, she has no, you know, nobody to take care of her needs, she will be deported immediately. So she got, you know, the boss of the husband, which he's helping to pay the bills, you know, the boss, the husband's boss, from the employee to pay the bills for the rent and all this stuff. But in the meantime, she's been dragged like every single week, 2 and 3 times, 2 times per week to ICE in Manhattan. So she has to get money to pay the taxi. She has to pay money that, you know, for the train. She has a lot of expenses. And in addition to that, she has to hire a lawyer. So, you know, think about, you know, she's been spending like every time that she goes to the meetings in Manhattan in the Department of Immigration, she has to spend like $1,000 in each visit, you know, with a lawyer. And that money is, you know, like is consuming her life and bringing, you know, maybe the whole family in debt for who knows when. And it's no guarantee that she's going to have the permission from ICE to get the working papers. So think about multiplying into these millions of people that are being placed with this device on the feet, how much billions of dollars ICE, this agency, are stealing from the Native American people who doesn't know that they are natives. They are actually natives, but you know, they are being like a happy force or forced to identify themselves as Hispanics and Latinos, which takes them like out of the ownership of the law of nature that they are born in this continent. That's very important to pay attention. Okay, so para la gente que habla español, les voy a compartir que el departamento de ICE, o sea, la inmigración o la Iglesia Católica le está animando a millones de personas en los países que salgan huyendo de sus naciones porque tienen un gobierno que les está lanzando una guerra de por dentro contra su propia gente. Cada gobierno lanzando una guerra usando sicarios mercenarios, gangas de narcotraficantes y traficantes humanos para forzarlos a que bien vengan para Sudamérica, para acá, para el norte. Y entonces le estoy conversando de esta familia de Nicaragua que han sido forzados a pagar hasta $1,000 por cada visita, y son 2 y 3 visitas semanales al departamento de ICE. ICE en sí es una agencia internacional pirata que está mandada por Inglaterra. Sabemos que los bancos la controla el Vaticano y todo eso, la masonería y todo esto. Mucha gente ni siquiera se ocupa de investigar todo esto. Y cuando viene acá, ICE les colocan una llave en el pie para que no puedan movilizarse. O sea, en otra palabra, les tienen como arrestados y no pueden movilizarse más que hasta cierta distancia, que es como media hora a otra ciudad, nada más, como de un pueblo a otro pueblo, pero no pueden ir más lejos que eso porque inmediatamente los arrestan y los deportan a toda la familia. Este es el ejemplo de una sola familia que está pagando $1,000 para supuestamente que la abogada le defienda, y cuando la abogada no le está defendiendo, simplemente ella es otra más que ayuda a robar para esta agencia, para el beneficio de esta agencia, multiplicado una familia que está gastando $2,000, $3,000 o $4,000 solamente en menos de un mes que ha llegado. Imagínense los millones de personas que han venido. Es porque nuestra gente es tan ignorante que ni siquiera leen, no siquiera se organizan, no hacen nada para mejorar la situación de vida de ellos. Entonces, now I wanted to pass into this important information that I am listening from every single source, because my page, as you know, I have a lot of people who has many other channels who are helping to us to understand how this system is working. So, I found out about this video. It's called John Ciruzzi, Resistencia Rising and the Ears of Children. John Ciruzzi is a Catholic person. He is saying he's an Army veteran, retired, but he's investigating about the Jesuit system and the Mason. So his video is in patreon.com if anyone who wanted to listen and get the information that is important to all of us. And this is talking about an application programming. It's called interface. People who knows the technology, they may understand this language. These languages are not to me, but I share for people who knows the language. It's called interface. Subscribe star.com. That is where you can find it. It's called the artificial intelligence. The ground source. This is Condor expands a global innovation network with opening up an artificial intelligence in Europe. This artificial intelligence began in Europe. That's what they say. John M. Dutch, born on July 27, 1938. This person, John M. Dutch, sounds very important in Wikimedia to find out who this person was. He was a director of this, global innovation network. He was employed by Bill Clinton in Vancouver. He was involved with children, and he was taking children who were taken the children were taken away from parents like these immigrants who supposedly they're taken away from them, or the Department of Social Service, they took the children out of supposedly an environmental of abuse, but they was using the children for pornography. And they was using in secret in a group called CIMA, Society, Economic, Estonic and Communication. They were actually working in 60 countries. They tried to look into children when they were taken out of their parents. It's called CIMA Group, Wikipedia. You can find out that. So this one links into another group. It's called the Airlines Reservation System from 2001, since 2001 or even before. Hijackers use information from this group to spy the neurolinks, the artificial intelligence in the ethic fields generation for manipulating the nervous system using nanometals through vaccines. In the 9/11, the board of directors of the 9/11, in Twitter, turns off the original SMS service. In most countries, the CIA involved with child pornography. 9/11 was planned with this type of technology. And the other party says that the real history of Twitter, in brief, the LifeWise SMS intelligence, or the early Twitter, Jacques Dorsey was using spying into people's private lives. For adults and children using this technology, they use this type of information to take control of the human brain. You know, this is very important. What we're reading is this video is longer, so I'm going to just cut right there. So podemos ver para la gente que habla español, es que desde la era de Bill Clinton ya había empleado a un hombre que se llama, John M. Dutch. En el año, él es nacido el 27 de julio de 1938. Él fue el director empleado por Bill Clinton para poder tener control de esta tecnología de espiar por medio de los teléfonos celulares. Porque la gente que tiene Twitter o Facebook o WhatsApp o Instagram son personas que todas tienen celulares. So, no hay privacidad ninguna. Esto ha sido vendida, esta información de todos los usuarios de estas tecnologías mundialmente. So, cuando nos dicen que los doctores nuestra salud es privada, es todo una grande mentira, es una terrible mentira. Nos están controlando y no hay ninguna privacidad en el aire, ni privado, ni nada. No somos absolutamente más que un artículo de venta. Eso es lo que queremos saber. Y por lo tanto, la gente, ¿por qué se depende de correr a los médicos? Porque nos hemos olvidado de usar nuestra madre naturaleza. Y la última parte que quiero compartir, I'm going to say it in English. The last part of my sharing of today is, because we have no time, is to bring back the medicine. I am shocked, I'm amazed that all these indigenous from Amazonas, they are the richest people in the knowledge of the herbs. And you know what? They are asking for money to bring the parents to the hospitals of the same system that are killing them. So that's how much of ignorance or corruption or negligence or simple laziness on the part of the indigenous in this continent completely. Why we don't have doctors who are putting, their phones? I am without cleaning my teeth. I don't have where to go and clean my teeth for 1 year because we were, I was suspecting that something is wrong because they have shut the water when you go to the dentist, they shut the water that you rinse while they are cleaning your teeth. Why they have shut the water? We have a doctor who came volunteer in public and Facebook. He says, don't go to the doctors, not even the dentist. Don't go to those clinics at all because the water that they're using in this hoses to supposedly rinse your teeth is full with metals. And they know that those metals are going to be stuck in your throat until you get home. You are going to have with all the metals already stuck in your brain because the back part of the throat is where your brain is. So nos alertan los doctores que ni siquiera vayamos a limpiarnos los dientes porque han cerrado esas clínicas a propósito y no tienen agua para enjuagarse la boca mientras te estás limpiando los dientes. Cuida a tus hijos, a tus niños. Están llevando estos doctores dentistas pagados por esta mafia FDA para ponerte metales, nanometales en el agua que supuestamente están enjuagando la boca. Hasta que llegues a casa, esos metales ya están estancados detrás, pegados como vidrios detrás del paladar, donde justamente se une al cerebro. So, esa es la alerta que tenemos. ¿Dónde están tantos doctores que rechazan ser vacunados ellos? ¿Por qué no ponen un teléfono al aire? Esos doctores no ponen un teléfono al aire. ¿Y dónde están los indígenas que saben toda la medicina natural? Es tanta la corrupción que se han acostumbrado a la vaguería vaya a pedir donaciones para ir llevando a sus familiares a los mismos hospitales que lo están matando, a los mismos enemigos. Este es mi mensaje. I'm so sorry, I don't want to take no more of your time, but I'm very happy to have talked to you guys. I love you, everybody, and we are adelante.
Yay.
Okay, here we go. Okay, this thing about people migrating or immigrating or being refugees.
Esto con respecto a que la gente se vuelve migrante o refugiada,
This is a result of male dominance,
es el resultado directo de la dominación masculina,
the corruption of war from the absence of peace, the absence of common sense. You're going to have war.
la corrupción de la guerra que viene de la ausencia de paz.
So there has been people displaced in the non-native world for thousands of years. Sure, it's their history. It's a known thing. War was here, hundreds of thousands of people displaced.
Ha habido gente desplazada desde que han empezado las guerras.
So this has been continued in the world, but labeled as colonialism.
Y eso ha seguido en el mundo, pero ha sido etiquetado como el colonialismo.
So colonization is the continuation of waging war, male dominance, and displacing people.
La colonización es el resultado de haber hecho la guerra y desplazado gente.
And today, for anyone who is under those circumstances,
Y hoy, para a cualquier persona que esté bajo esas circunstancias,
it's still of the same, it's in the same vein. I don't care if it's somebody today trying to get away from oppression in Honduras and they want to come to the United States. It's ridiculous for that, to them to get locked in a vicious cycle like that.
es ilógico que alguien que viene de Honduras quiera seguir encerrado en ese círculo ilógico.
Because the so-called United States are the ones causing the chaos on the ground in Honduras that causes the person to want to leave their country. So the United States is the one inflicting them with violence, and then they come as a refugee to the so-called United States, thinking that somehow you're going to find refuge.
Porque son los Estados Unidos los que están haciendo que la situación sea insoportable en esos lugares y luego la gente sale de ahí yendo a Estados Unidos pensando que van a poder refugiarse de ellos.
This kind of behavior is ridiculous. It's got to stop.
Es ese tipo de comportamiento que es completamente ridículo y tiene que parar.
No, I'm not on the ground there in Guatemala or Honduras to know how bad it is.
Y yo no estoy ahí en Guatemala o en Honduras para saber cómo es la cosa.
But I would imagine that things got to be very, very bad in order for somebody from Guatemala or Honduras to want to leave their home and go to the United States of all places, the place that caused your hardships.
Pero imaginaría que las cosas tendrían que estar realmente mal para que alguien de Guatemala o Honduras quiera dejar su casa que les ha causado tanto dolor.
So you have a continued displacement of people today,
Entonces tienen gente en constante desplazamiento hoy
and people are complying with it.
y la gente obedece eso.
It's been a thing that people have complied with for thousands of years now. People comply with the warmonger.
Durante miles de años la gente ha estado obedeciendo al que hace la guerra.
And when they do, they make a deal with the warmonger, with Britain. After that, their life is screwed up.
Y cuando lo hacen un trato con el que hace la guerra y después su vida se acabó.
And then they want to complain after their life is screwed up.
Y ya que su vida está acabada, se quieren quejar.
Anyone on earth, you have any kind of relations with the white British European, you're crazy.
Cualquiera en la tierra que tenga relaciones con el blanco europeo británico está loco.
If you have relations with them on their terms, the way that they want, then you are crazy. Whatever you get, you deserve it.
Si tienen relaciones con ellos en sus términos, cualquier cosa que les ocurra a ustedes, pues se lo merecen.
The only way to have any kind of connection to them, because connection to them is undeniable, they force their way upon everybody.
La única forma de tener contacto con ellos, porque eso es algo inevitable, porque van por todos lados.
So the only way to have a connection with them is through your own identity, by asserting your own law.
Es mediante su propia identidad, afirmando su propia ley.
And anybody could say, well, this can't be done in this day and age. They're everywhere. They are the monster that's everywhere.
Y todo el mundo puede decir, pero eso no puede ocurrir hoy porque están por todos lados.
No, we're doing it.
Pero nosotros lo estamos haciendo.
And even though they could crush us in an instance,
Y a pesar de que nos pueden aplastar en un momento,
we're still doing it. We're not accepting their garbage,
lo seguimos haciendo, no aceptamos lo que nos imponen,
because that's all they have to offer is garbage.
porque lo único que tienen que ofrecer es basura.
Anybody who accepts garbage and you get sick later afterwards, well, don't complain about it.
Quien acepte basura y luego se enferme, pues que no se queje.
It's too bad that a lot of people are refugees. It's too bad.
Es terrible que haya mucha gente refugiada,
But what do you think can be done about that? By bringing them to some other country? Does that address the issue that made them a refugee?
pero ¿qué va a cambiar el hecho de llevarlos a otro país? ¿Va a cambiar el problema que los volvió refugiados?
It does not.
Mm-mm.
It actually promotes the problem.
De hecho, lo empeora.
Yeah.
So all people who are, especially from the south, anywhere, Mexico or anywhere south of that, they're all coming to the United States or so-called Canada. Why? This is insanity. This is the country that caused all the chaos upon you in the first place to make you want to leave.
Y toda la gente del sur, ya sea de México para abajo, que vengan para acá, los llamados Estados Unidos o Canadá, si esos son los países que ocasionaron las dificultades que les hicieron salir para empezar.
So I'll officially tell everybody, let's say right from this time, this is where everyone will officially know.
Entonces les digo oficialmente a todos desde ahora,
Do not leave your homeland.
no dejen su casa.
You're a refugee from war or from whatever chaos, corruption that is there. How is that going to fix it? By you leaving.
Si son un refugiado de guerra o de cualquier otro asunto, el hecho de que ustedes se vayan, ¿cómo va a corregir el asunto?
If you're a native person and you're leaving, you're actually joining the white man in their corruption of running away from their problems.
Y si ustedes son autóctonos y se van, se están uniendo al hombre blanco en su mentalidad de huir de sus problemas.
The sooner everybody gets it through their head that you cannot run from your problems,
Entre más pronto la gente sepa que no puede huir de sus problemas,
which means refugee is a corruption.
lo que significa que el refugiado es una corrupción,
It shouldn't be allowed.
no debería de ser permitido.
You think of this, let's say what's going on in Crimea, not Crimea again, Ukraine, I mean. So let's say Ukraine, and Ukraine is the center, and all these other fingers around are different countries.
Si se piensa en lo que es Ucrania, que sería un dedo, y los otros son diferentes países.
Well, if there's a refugee from Ukraine runs away from war and goes to the next country,
Si hay un refugiado de Ucrania y se va al otro país,
the next country is solidifying themselves either for or against the Ukraine,
el otro país va a estar ya sea por o en contra de Ucrania,
which actually exacerbates the issue, the problem in the Ukraine.
lo que empeora el problema en Ucrania.
So any country that accepts refugees is actually promoting war.
Y cualquier país que acepte refugiados va a promover la guerra.
If you got refugees running away from war coming into your country, that means that other country needs your help.
Si tienen refugiados que vienen huyendo de otros países, lo que significa es que esos países necesitan su ayuda.
They need you to focus all your efforts at peace, everything about you, your knowledge about peace, everything. They need you to focus on that, not to polarize yourself around one side or the other, and then to give guns or weapons in that polarization. You are the problem.
Y necesitan que ustedes se concentren en la paz, porque si eso no ocurre, ustedes son el problema.
So all refugees must stop.
Y todos los refugiados tendrían que parar.
Now that may sound subhuman for me because here, well, maybe there's women that aren't getting killed and raped and murdered, but over there they are, and they need to get away from that.
Y eso sería tal vez algo que suene subhumano de mi parte, porque qué tal que hay una mujer que está siendo asesinada.
Well, ask yourselves, if you are in Honduras and you're trying to get away from whatever, and you're coming to the so-called United States and Canada, these are the people that caused it upon you. Ask yourself, what are they doing, the United States and Canada, to alleviate the pressure in your country? You know what they're doing? Not a goddamn thing. They are causing the pressure.
Y si ustedes son refugiados que están en Estados Unidos o Canadá, ¿qué está haciendo la gente de esos países para aliviar el problema que les hizo salir? Nada. Y si hacen algo es al contrario, para empeorar el problema.
So it's time for all people to start dealing realistically. If you think you're going to run away from your country because they're about to kill you, and you think you're going to go somewhere and live your life and everything's going to be fine, you're wrong.
Y es hora de que la gente entienda que si van a salir huyendo de su país y se van a ir a otro pensando que van a poder vivir ahí, están completamente equivocados.
There's a lot of people who may have done that as refugees, left somewhere and went into another country and lived there for 40 or 50 years without them getting killed.
Y hay mucha gente que haya hecho eso, salir de su país, yéndose de refugiado a otro país, viviendo ahí 40 o 50 años sin ser asesinados.
Well, that's fine. That person, if they would have stayed home, maybe they would have got killed.
Y tal vez si se hubiesen quedado en casa habrían sido asesinados.
You come over here to my country, live here for 40 or 50 years, you don't get killed, but the 40 or 50 years that you're here, you're oppressing me. What is a refugee? What exactly are they?
Pero en los 40 o 50 años que vives aquí, no te matan, pero me estás oprimiendo a mí. Entonces, ¿qué son los refugiados?
A refugee is a part of a problem.
El refugiado es parte de un problema.
There's a problem there that are killing them, and here are the refugees that want to run away from that, meaning the problem is never getting addressed.
Porque el problema quiere matar al refugiado, el refugiado quiere huir de eso, pero el problema nunca es abordado.
No, we're not saying the solution is for people to stay there and get killed by your oppressor.
Y no estamos diciendo que la solución sea que la gente se quede ahí y sea matado por su opresor.
But let's see, people in Honduras or Guatemala or any place where there's refugees coming from there into so-called United States or Canada, they have connections to people in the so-called United States and Canada. They just don't know it. They have connections through money. So through money, they have influence.
Pero la gente que va de refugiado a Estados Unidos o Canadá tiene conexiones mediante el dinero.
The issue here that's exposed through refugees is just that humanity is not working. It's dysfunctioning.
El asunto que es presentado por los refugiados es que la humanidad no está funcionando.
So humans don't know what to do when there is a war in one country and there's people who are leaving that country. The surrounding countries don't know to say, hey, close off the doors and make those people stay in that country and make them fix their problem.
Los humanos no saben qué hacer cuando hay un problema y que tienen que haber refugiados que salen al otro. El otro país no puede decirle, no les dejamos entrar, les cerramos el paso.
Because we've been seeing refugees for 500 years now.
Porque aquí hemos visto refugiados por 500 años ya.
And your way of life, the rest of the world that does not belong here, your way of life, absolutely everything about you is corruption from head to toe. You don't know how to live proper on any level. So things that exist within you, such as refugees, you think it's okay. These are all crazy for accepting it. These are insane. You think that it's okay for the neighbors to kill each other over there, and if one of them come next door and try to live with you, oh, it's okay. You don't address a damn thing ever.
Es una locura que ustedes piensan que si su vecino, digamos, asesinó a alguien, que lo dejen venir a su casa y que lo dejen quedarse y que no digan nada.
Okay, so Yeah, we'll leave that on that level. But this isn't, I'm not saying or diminishing the information that you bring to us today.
Y no estoy en ninguna forma disminuyendo la información que nos presentas,
But all of us are all in the same mix. The same thing that's happening in Chile is happening over here. It's happening in Russia. It's happening in Ukraine. It's happening everywhere, which means everybody's got to stand their ground where they are. Quit moving around, quit jumping around and changing sides.
lo que significa que en donde se encuentre la persona tiene que poner los pies bien sólidos en la tierra y dejar de estar huyendo y cambiando de lado todo el tiempo.
Anyways,
Solamente una cosa más para, only one thing just to close it, and I'm totally, I'm not como halagándolo, pero no, the truth, what you say is completely truth. I'm going to give you, one last example, what happened in Naranjal, a small city where my uncle has a finca. He has lived for all his life in Naranjal, in this city. Who had opened the mafia of the government had opened an airport to transport the drugs from Colombia to Ecuador and Ecuador to the United States and all over the world. They opened una cancha, una cancha de fútbol. So there was thousands, I bet, thousands of people in the cancha waiting to begin this game, the football. And a narco trafficker or a mercenary assassin came with a machine gun, hiding in some kind of cloth. He took the gun, shot this guy, I don't know how many bullets. And those people who was watching the football, they rushed to clean the body so they can continue to watch the football, the other one, so it doesn't matter. So they not even, the police didn't come because it's part of the mafia. The government had no part. The dead body is being taken away, and everybody else says continue like with a party, or it could be, the football, or could be a happy birthday or a wedding. What kind of conscience is that? So I'm 100% with Brother Stewart. You are totally correct. In the spiritual way, people have to stand in their spirituality that they have lost. La gente de Naranjal que miró que en una cancha llegaran en medio de miles de espectadores de un juego de fútbol, un juego masónico, satánico, por supuesto. Están todos en ese culto satánico, distraídos mirando el juego de pelota. Viene el asesino, mata a una persona y lo que hacen es limpiar el cuerpo para poder continuar limpiando la cancha. So, vergüenza para todo el Ecuador. Mi país debe de estar avergonzado de haber perdido totalmente la humanidad y la conciencia. This is a loss of conscience. I'm 100% with you, brother. People have to use their brains and use their spirituality. They cannot be going on with this cult like everything is normal. They wanted to continue in the waste in a human life wasting and letting all the children be raped and kidnapped and disappear, or and people is with the cult of the church. I'm completely with you. I'm 100% with you. This is why I love this group. Thank you. Goodbye.
this is precisely why, as you know, the purpose for this reconstitution process is to activate conversation between identities.
Y ese es el objetivo de este proceso de reconstitución, el de activar discusión entre identidades.
And to discuss the things that are affecting all of our identities.
Y discutir lo que afecta a todas nuestras identidades.
In a realistic way that actually addresses it on the ground in each place.
De una forma realista que lo trate en los diferentes lugares.
So this is the purpose of this reconstitution process, to address all these things that we're bringing up, that we're talking about. And it may not seem like it gets addressed, but the mere fact that we discuss it starts the gears in motion.
Y hablar de estas cosas es el objetivo, y nada más con hablarlas se empieza el movimiento.
And as you've seen, like with the hemp unity, everyone on earth has the ability to have the discussion about the United Nations scientists warning about the year 2030, but no one discussed it. We discussed it, and we concluded, and we took solid action.
Y como ven, con la agenda del 2030, nadie hizo nada, nadie habló del asunto, pero aquí lo hicimos y hicimos la agenda de la Unión del Cáñamo, que es una acción concreta.
But in the beginning, say a year or 2 years ago, when we were discussing it, people would have just said, if right there, if they would have said, oh, look, they're not getting anywhere. They're just talking about stuff. Nothing's getting done.
Pero hace 2 años, si la gente hubiese escuchado, dirían que era puro bla bla.
So a year ago or 2 years ago, it would have, anybody could have been justified in saying, oh, no, this is nonsense, and just walk away from it.
Y hace 2 años, quien sea hubiera podido decir es pura locura y darse la vuelta.
But as you see, the way that it's done, things get adjusted. Things are, once they're adjusted, things are affected.
Pero como ven, cuando las cosas son habladas, las cosas pueden ser afectadas.
So right now, from this discussion, we are affecting in the future the migration of people from the south to the north, east to west, whatever. Migration is a corruption upon the earth that has to stop. All the people who have migrated, they're 100% behind it. You think it's the greatest thing. It's a corruption.
Y entonces hay que hablar de la verdadera corrupción de la migración que tendría que parar, a pesar de que toda la gente que lo ha hecho lo respalda, pero tendría que hablarse de la realidad.
Okay, anyways, that was the last one then, right?
Mark wanted to say
Just
something.
very short, sweet.
Okay,
My name is Mark. I'm the son of Lise and the grandson of Leah.
Mark se presenta de forma matrilineal.
I'm just simply happy that the women established a safe house in Anne's place.
Y está contento de que las mujeres establecieron la casa segura en casa de Anne.
And that there's another one on the way, Quebec, I believe. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good. Especially now in current affairs, especially what's going on in Ukraine. Right now, because I listened to the latest stuff. Right now, Biden is and NATO are trying to send long-range ballistic missiles in the area, and which is getting some nuclear threat reactions from Russia.
Y ahorita viene otra en la ciudad de Quebec, y lo que quiero decir es que en Ucrania hay ahorita amenaza de cuestiones nucleares de la parte de Biden.
And knowing the fact that Ukraine is the bread and basket of Europe concerning the wheat, and the fact that the food chain is pretty much being depleted all around the world, even here in North America, so-called North America, there's a lot of food processing manufacturers that are burning down.
Y sabiendo que Rusia es un poco como la canasta básica de toda Europa, sabiendo que también en otros lugares se han quemado ciertas plantas de alimentación.
And politically, things are also going straight, sort of, because it's going to get pretty soon. It's going to become crazier and crazier and crazier.
Y que las cosas también a nivel político están deteriorándose y cada vez se van a volver más locas.
I just say I would give you a great thanks if we can camp immense fire close to these Safeway houses.
Les diría que seríamos muy agradecidos si como hombres pudiésemos acampar en estas casas seguras.
So I don't know what Merrick thinks about that. I know we have to work on the men's declaration, and we're going to have to approach the women soon. So I don't know how I'm going about doing it. Maybe.
Y no sé qué es lo que piensa Merrick de esto. Sé que tenemos que trabajar en la declaración de los hombres y sé que tenemos que acercarnos a las mujeres pronto, entonces no sé realmente cómo hacerlo.
So, like I said, things are starting to really go down everywhere. So it would be, I think, something good that we should do, must do, to be honest. It's a must.
Y como dije, las cosas se están deteriorando tanto en todos los grados que eso es algo que tendríamos que hacer.
So if anybody wants to comment on that, that's all I have to say.
Y si alguien tiene algo que decir al respecto, eso es lo que quería mencionar.
Yeah. Like all things, let it evolve.
Como en todas las cosas hay que dejarlo evolucionar.
Like we said, if you look at something and you don't know what's missing, you're not going to be able to identify what's missing. So in areas where you don't know what to do, like trying to figure out what to do can be mind-boggling.
Como hemos dicho, si hay algo que hace falta y no se puede saber qué es, cuando se trata de hacer algo que no se sabe cómo hacerlo, puede ser realmente confuso.
So in times like that, you let it happen.
Y cuando es así, pues dejas que se produzca.
Action is taken to initiate something.
La acción es tomada para iniciar algo,
So just follow that action.
entonces hay que seguir esa acción.
So the next time that you're going to hear that the women are having a gathering in one of these places, then if it is acceptable to the women, then the men who are so inclined should be there to support, just to be there to be the whatever we need, whatever they need us to be.
Y la próxima vez que los hombres van a escuchar que las mujeres se van a encontrar, entonces los hombres tendrían que ponerse a disposición para que nos digan qué hacer.
And from there, this thing will just evolve. It will happen. It'll grow.
Y a partir de ahí va a evolucionar y crecer.
So take it from there. When you hear of this, just you can inquire with them. When's the next thing, and they'll tell you and see what their minds are like. If they're in agreement, and go from there.
Entonces les puedes preguntar cuándo es el próximo encuentro y qué es lo que tú propones, y si ellas están de acuerdo, pues a partir de ahí nos movemos.
Yep. I don't know if that answers your question.
That's fine.
No sé si responde.
Okay, then. The only other thing, like we said, it's just, we're gonna call Roger Chuck Mendoza, see if we can reach him. And the thing with Roger, his whole issue or case has been going south, that they've put 15 years upon him. And it seems like they've approached the deadline or the due date where anything could be done. And I think we're beyond that date now, right?
It was today, actually.
It was today, yeah.
Y todo para que sepan que en el caso de Roger se le reafirmó su sentencia, entonces tenía un derecho de apelación, no apelación, ¿cómo se dice esto? De réplica en 5 días, y hoy justamente se cubre este lapso.
So if we do reach him, his spirits may be low.
Y
For us to keep this in mind.
si logramos hablar con él, puede que esté un poco decepcionado, entonces nada más para que sepamos eso.
He is now confronted with being in jail for 15 years.
Porque ahora está confrontado a quedarse en la cárcel por 15 años.
Well, it doesn't mean anything for the people who are out here fighting for him. Just think of all the people who were there standing for Leonard Peltier when he first went in. And he's been in there how long now? 40 years? Something like that.
¿Y qué es lo que significa para alguien que haya entrado a la cárcel y para todos los que están alrededor de él, como por ejemplo Leonard Peltier, que cuánto tiempo ya lleva ahí adentro?
We know, and I know Roger knows, we said this to him before, don't expect to get justice from the white man.
Y ya le dijimos a Roger, y él lo sabe, que no puede esperar tener justicia de la parte del hombre blanco.
He's being used as an example, so he's going to stay in jail.
Porque ha sido utilizado como un ejemplo, entonces se va a quedar en la cárcel.
Okay, so we're going to try to contact him, and if we can't reach him, then that's going to be it for today.
Vamos a tratar de llamarle, y si no le podemos conectar, vamos a cerrar. I don't think he's going to pick up because it's been like an hour that he doesn't check it.
What time is it? No,
4:45.
after 4 already?
Mhm.
No, this is his dead zone time, 4 o'clock. He's not going to answer. Okay. Well, if he happens to call back in the next few minutes before we do the closing, then we'll carry on with him. But if not, well, we're going to just go into the closing.
Si llama, lo vamos a volver a marcar, pero si no, vamos a cerrar nada más.
Okay, things that need to be done, which we have been working on, is the ongoing teachings that was established with Bayun, that we haven't done that now in what, a month and a half, 2 months? That this is something that we have to make it happen within the next 2 weeks. It's gotta.
Y otra cosa que no hemos hecho son las enseñanzas con Ayun y con Gloria, que las dejamos como desde hace ya 2 lunas. Entonces, si no pasa, tiene que pasar de aquí a las próximas 2 semanas.
So for this, it's basically from our side, just to present to Ayun when we're able to do it, and they're pretty much flexible with it.
Y básicamente sería presentarles las fechas y ellas son flexibles.
Okay, so as soon as we do know, of course, we're going to post that. We'll share it with everybody anyways.
Y en cuanto sepamos, lo vamos a comunicar.
And just to share here that I have been involved in a court case of systemic racial genocide.
Y para compartir que he estado involucrado en un caso que es de genocidio racista sistémico.
And there has been people waiting, have been expecting to do an update on this. We haven't been able to get to it. Sometime within this week. I don't know if we're going to do it at the Wednesday Zoom or hold a special Zoom on the side for that.
Y hay gente que ha estado esperando noticias al respecto, entonces no sé si lo vayamos a hacer este miércoles en el Zoom o vamos a hacerlo en otro momento.
But that also, as soon as it's sorted out, then it'll be shared. Everyone will know.
Pero en cuanto se sepa, todos lo van a saber.
Okay, nothing else for us, then we're just going to close.
Entonces nada más vamos a cerrar.
And you know that we could keep talking about stuff.
Y saben que podríamos seguir hable y hable.
But it was a big weekend, this weekend, going to Ann's and starting that women's safe house. It was a beautiful weekend, but it was a big, exhausting weekend.
Pero fue un fin de semana hermoso de haber ido con Ann, pero también cansado.
So it's good that we have a short day today.
Entonces es bueno que tengamos un día corto hoy.
We don't have the Eagles, so.
Wakatsanuni, Agüeco, Gunungwe, Dano Runungwe, Agwex, Dano Condor, Gatsahaya. We're happy that we came as life givers and as life protectors together to have this council between the Condor and the Eagle. Estamos contentas y contentos que tuvimos este consejo entre el Cóndor y el Águila y que las dadoras de vida y los protectores de vida pudieron hacerlo realidad. Edith está Soco, Axotavenda Jesco Panchita, Axotavenda Jesco Celsa, Zapotecnia Honsagi, Mexican Wanerista, Yanata Yuni, Yakinosadista, Nantoharagi Ganosesne, Edniagaha Ganawagi, Newisni Honsagi, Onowaragi Gawanoke. Tengitino Waradu, Garunwagari Yakeso, Yankisata, Santana Kagarafwa, Yankinista, New Honsagi, Dano Tukundum Hetza Gawat. We give thanks to Sky Woman, our Grandma Moon, our Mama Earth, and to all of the life givers in all of their shapes and forms. Agradecemos a la Mujer Cielo, a nuestra abuelita Luna, a nuestra Mami Tierra y a todas las dadoras de vida en todas sus formas. Agüe Tsini Kenya Tarakiru, Agüego Unumpueso Adano Agüe Aquatire, Yadiñato, Yonatahio y Dando Discarogue. Según se de Ganawida, Huego Diane, Danoroliane, Yohario, Canicurio, Gandawana, Ganara Saragoa, Tegini de Yohade, Ayunkia de Genja, Dandawaran Hetzeran de Ganaran Quatzerowana, Orihuio, Scana, Gatastansara, Garibo Warishunsara, Gatastansara Negunue, Danogandawana, Gatastansara Nue, Danoaweka Watsire, Danaweka Tsahaya. We give thanks to all of the waters and all of the medicines, to all of the spirit of the true spirit of the clans, the turtle, wolf, and bear, and the peacemakers, be it female and male. We ask them their assistance in bringing back the true spirit of the great love, peace, and the Turo Wampum of the love, truth, peace, power, and righteousness back to the people, and the strength of the life givers in balance with the life protectors so that we can bring all of our councils back to life. Y agradecemos a todas las aguas y todas las medicinas, a los clanes, la tortuga, el lobo y el oso, a las y los pacificadores que nos regalaron la gran ley de la paz y el wampum de 2 días. Les pedimos que nos ayuden a traer de vuelta el amor, la verdad, la paz, el poder de nuestros ancestros y el buen camino, para que las mujeres en equilibrio con él, la verdadera fuerza de los hombres, podamos traer de vuelta nuestros consejos de amor, de casa, de familia y de nación. Y si hay algún obstáculo a esto, lo empujamos en los 3 niveles de la existencia. And if there's any obstacle to that, we push it away on the 3 levels of the existence. No gaten ayudaxa. Eres agua, eres agua, eres agua. No gaten ayudaxa.
Yeah, all right. It's been a long, tiring weekend, so don't DJ Duck. See everybody later.
Take care of everybody.